Hey, good morning, everybody. Rendered Reality here. I'm Sean.
And I'm Tyler. Morning, guys.
And this week has been insane. This has actually been a pretty crazy week for VR with E3 and all of the stuff going on with Oculus and their approval stuff and virtual desktop. I mean, it's just been kind of
Yeah.
insane. We got a lot to cover today. We really do. So
Yeah, it's been a fire week. I mean, we just keep going between, Sean and myself, we just keep going back and forth between all the news and everything that's been coming out and dropping, and it changes daily.
yeah.
I mean, look at all the Pavlov stuff literally changed within 12 hours.
Yeah, so Pavlov was coming to Quest, and then Pavlov was not coming to Quest, and now Pavlov is coming to Quest again. So it has been confirmed by the developer that it is coming to Quest officially, not just the side loading. It is actually coming. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been back and forth, flip-flopping, and just
which
nuts.
is awesome because I just can't wait to get my hands on a shooter inside the Quest.
Yeah,
I mean,
I still haven't had time to side load it yet. I don't know if you have. I don't think you have either yet. But
I haven't. No. Nope.
So.
No, but that's awesome. I'm excited. I know it'll probably be a little bit. I know it won't be immediately,
Right.
but at least it's through the approval process. So that's awesome. Good for Dave. It's very cool.
Good stuff. So we do also have a special guest that is going to be joining us about an hour into the show, I think. So in about an hour into the show, he'll join us and we'll have a discussion with him. So
Yep. Yeah, that should be definitely stick around for that.
yeah, definitely. It should be a good time. So, and we also do have the drawing for the Contractors key on Gleam. That'll be, I think that ends at 10:30. So around then we'll switch over and do that drawing, and then we'll let you know who won that. So, but as far as E3 goes, I mean, we got a couple of big game announcements. A couple of them we knew about already. A couple of them we've heard about, and there was a couple new ones. A couple things we didn't know that were coming. Was there anything that really stuck out to you as far as something you're pretty excited about?
For me, I'm super, and I know I've told you this. I'm super excited for Arizona Sunshine's new game, which now I can't think of the name.
After the fall, I believe.
After the fall. Yep. Yep, that's it. And I just think they just do a really good job. They're building the game completely around co-op play. So that in its central core to me is really fulfilling, just to play co-op and play with somebody. We always go in and we find things and show each other stuff. It's a whole complexity to the game that isn't there built into the game. So,
I mean, that was one of the first games we went in together that we really delve into pretty deep into that game and played the whole campaign together, the whole co-op campaign. So I am really excited about that, and I think they do a good job, and I believe they said that they've been working on that for like a year and a half now for this new game. So
which we kind of hoped that because we haven't seen anything from them in a while. So we kind of hope, but
I mean, they do the DLC packs and stuff for Arizona Sunshine and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. So the trailer for that, we didn't get much from the trailer. The trailer it was kind of like the Walking Dead trailer, and where it wasn't anything. They gave us a ton of information.
I know, it's just a hype. I mean, it's a good hype trailer, but I mean, yeah, exactly.
And thank you to Jay Cruz that just subscribed. So I don't have any auto playing. It's just a short clip. It doesn't really show you much of anything. It just kind of shows like an old arcade machine that it goes up to. And I believe it showed like 4 players on there, didn't it? So I'm wondering if you're going to be able to do a 4-player co-op.
I would assume they were going to. I would think they'll push 4-player. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah, because
there's
there's 4 guns there.
Yeah.
And it says 4 players. So I'm imagining it is going to be a 4-player game.
That even reminds me of Arizona Sunshine, the loading screen when you go into the game and stuff when you're in the trailer.
Yeah, it does.
Just that whole like analog screen. That's really cool.
Yeah, I love that game.
Like that.
That is still one of my most favorite games, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. One of the ones that really stuck out to me was Pistol Whip. Have you seen that?
Yes, I did.
So that is kind
I'm
of
really excited about that. That was probably at the end of all the trailers. I was watching some of Upload VR stuff when they were streaming all the trailers and stuff. And that one probably got me the most excited.
Yeah, that one, I mean, just the fact that it goes to the music and it's very, John Wick style. And I guess the shots don't have to be perfectly accurate. It's more of time to the beat of the music and stuff like that. And I mean, that one that's one
Even
of them
like
that I got.
Markers. Do you see the hit markers? Like when you shoot, they kind of float and like kind of float by you and stuff. That's really cool.
I mean, this one is one of the ones I'm really excited about for sure. I think this is going to be just
games like this are just easy to pick up and play real quick.
Right.
Like super hot. You don't have to keep playing it. You can play a couple. It's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like the super hot art style where it's not any kind of crazy art style or anything. It's just
Yep.
should be a really it's more about the experience than what you're going to see on the screen. You know what I mean? It's because you know how it is, and all of you guys in the chat know how it is. You know, when you're in a VR game, it's just a completely different thing than seeing something like the trailer on the screen. Because I mean, if somebody doesn't know any better and they just see this trailer on the screen, they're like, oh, you know, that's whatever. You know what I mean? But when you're inside of it, that's where the magic happens. That's where it really
that's
happens.
just like, and I'm not going to get into it yet because we will hear it momentarily, but Holoception, same thing. You know, people were saying like, what about adding red blood and stuff to it? And I get, you know, little things like that can be, you know, really pop and stuff. But I mean, the game, it doesn't take much, and it looks so cool inside because you're so focused on what you're doing, just like Super Hot, that you forget about all like the missing textures. You know, it's just it works really well. So
what do you think about the? Did you see that Abe VR is coming out with a new one? Me and you both did that. Remember the free experience way back in the day? And I think that is still available on Oculus. If you guys haven't tried that, it's just like a free little experience for the Abe VR thing. And it's pretty short. I think it's like maybe 5-10 minutes or whatever. And,
5 minutes.
But it's kind of creepy. Like, it kind of starts out. I haven't done it in a while, but it kind of starts out.
Woods.
No.
You're in the woods, isn't it?
No, that's the one where you're in like the hospital room or something, and there's like a body beside you that's covered up with a sheet. And
I wasn't.
It's the robot thing. You don't remember that?
Yeah, the robot. Yeah, but I didn't remember being covered up with a sheet.
Yeah, like you're like, I'm pretty sure when you go in, you're like strapped in a chair. You're just sitting in a chair and you're like strapped in, and this robot guy like walks in, and he seems kind of nice at first, but you're like, this something doesn't seem right. You know what I mean? And then it has.
Or he looks way down at, like leans like.
Yeah,
way
and there's
in,
like there's that body. You can see a body covered up, and there's like some medical instruments and stuff on a table and stuff. It gets kind of creepy at the very end. You're like, what the heck is going on? It totally takes a twist. I mean, you know, there's obviously an eerie feeling when you go in, but it's free if anybody wants to try that. I should go back in it because it has. It's literally been like 2016 since we did that. I mean, that was when we did it, was way back then. So they are getting a new experience that I'm guessing it's going to be more like a game, I believe, but it looks pretty creepy. It definitely looks a little on the creepy side. So, and we're kind of rolling through a couple of these things a little quick just because we do have a lot to talk about and stuff today, and then we have the interview portion, like the special guest portion as well. But so.
Yeah, some of the people in chat were saying like co-op on Quest is best, and we've recently been playing a little bit of co-op stuff with Dead and Buried, which isn't true co-op in the nature, but we kind of play it that way, and it plays really well. I have a lot of fun. You know, it doesn't take much. I mean,
I don't know what is available on Quest right now that has actual co-op. Is there anything that is actual co-op?
True co-op, yeah.
I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. I'm sure there probably is, and maybe somebody can mention it in there. I just can't think of anything right now. Really, the only thing we've done really together so far in Quest is Dead and Buried. We did go into PokerStars VR.
Oh yeah,
so
we did.
Greg's
play that.
VR is in here,
so
or he
fun.
comes in later. We did play that, and that was actually a ton of fun. I loved all the things that you could pull out of your like inventory and stuff, and that was really.
I just
want
to say this now on air so everyone knows that when I become a gambling addict, I'm gonna blame Greg's VR for getting us into PokerStars.
No doubt. Even though I don't really even know how to play, but it was still fun. I was kind of figuring out, and there was a couple other people in there that were kind of helping me out and telling us what to do and how to do certain things. So the people in there were really cool, and it was a fun time. I do want to go back in.
I just like all
and
the
get
little
a little
interactions,
better.
like. The one time when I pulled out, there was like a little donkey, and it was a real donkey. And you could set it on the table, and it's like pawing like at the table.
It's just like a little miniature donkey that you literally sat on the poker table, which was awesome.
And I had sushi in VR.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
And you can eat it. I mean, you can't actually eat it, but you can like put it to your mouth and it disappears. You can smoke cigars and stuff. It's a really cool game, and that's another one that is free. But I can't think of anything that is. What was the other zombie one that's on? That one might be co-op. That's on
Drop
Quest.
Dead?
Yeah, that one might be co-op. I haven't tried that one.
I think is.
I haven't tried that, but yeah. So the Abe VR experience looks pretty creepy. Lo-Fi actually has a new trailer that we did go into Lo-Fi, and that is another one of the games that I'm super excited about. But we can show that, and I think this trailer does have the audio, so we'll play this real quick.
Yeah. The hype for this game is definitely real. So the most exciting thing that I saw in this that I haven't got to see in game yet is where it does like the scan. Did you notice that? So it does like a scan, and there's like a different rendering of the world that's all just not pixelated, but did you see it's very grid-like?
I did see that.
I'm really excited to see what that looks like in game because the lighting in that game really pops. So
yeah,
that looks super cool.
And going into that game in the Rift S with a little bit better screens is, I mean, even more amazing. The visuals were already great in that game, and even better, you know, with the crazy lighting and there's less God rays and all that kind of stuff in the Rift S. It was really impressive. I can't wait to see it in the Index.
I know.
Which hopefully should be here pretty soon. So.
I know it's not fair. Let's not talk about it.
Well, actually, it's supposed to. So I don't know when it's actually going to get delivered, but the date that is thrown around is June 28th, which is actually the weekend we're supposed to be coming back to Ohio. So the first time I actually might get to check it out, if it comes before we leave, is actually at your house. Maybe I'll just bring it over there, so you might actually get to see it right away, and maybe we can do. Some
you
videos
think you'll have it before? See, I thought you were going to get it while you were gone.
I don't know. I mean, I think June 28th is like that Friday, and I think that's when we're leaving. So I'm hoping that it comes earlier. I have no idea. Sure. I don't know. I mean, I'm watching my email like crazy ever since, because I think yesterday was the 14th, and that was the date that you had to confirm your shipping address. So hopefully this week, I mean, all week long, I'm going to be checking my email like every 5 minutes, like, oh, did it ship out yet?
If you do bring it back here to Ohio, maybe we'll have to do a live stream of it and show you guys like a little firsthand stuff once it's
check
public.
it out first.
And really, like, how many people actually ordered the Index? Because I know a lot of people like talk about it and debate it, and there's a lot of good options out there with reverb and stuff.
And now we got the Cosmos news coming soon too.
The Cosmos, right?
Yeah.
But do people actually buy it? It's expensive.
I mean,
and we're all in on VR, so I get it, but a lot of people, that's a big purchase.
It seems like a lot of the people that we talk to, like a lot of the people on here, a lot of the people on the Discord and stuff are kind of like more enthusiast people like we are. So to me, it seems like a lot of people have ordered it, because I see a lot of those people that have said they ordered it, but I don't know how much of like the mainstream, like the people that aren't the enthusiasts, I don't know how many people in that area have ordered. I don't know.
Too bad we can't run like a poll even on our viewers just to see like what percentage of people actually bought it, that have VR headsets. I'm curious.
We probably could on Discord or something, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I don't know now what I want to do with my Rift S. Do I keep it? Do I get rid of it?
I don't know. Honestly, I've been kind of I like the Rift S, but I haven't been. The other night I was actually playing something, and I actually went back into the CV1 because I don't have a good audio solution for the Rift S, and the tracking is. I mean, they've done some updates and stuff, but for the first-person shooters and stuff, anything I've tried, I have struggled a little bit with the tracking. Like, it is not as good as the 3-sensor setup with the CV1, so I'm a little torn on it. Like, I do love the visuals. I mean, the visuals compared to CV1 are a lot better. I mean, you do notice the difference, but I mean, I'm going to have the Valve Index soon. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, other than maybe going into some of the exclusives, depending on how Revive is going to work with the Oculus Store, with the Index and stuff. Sure. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. But you still have a CV1. I mean, maybe get rid of or do you get rid of the Rift S?
I don't know.
The CV1, I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just make a shelf and throw them all on there.
I know, that's the problem.
T-Dub said once the honest Index reviews come in, then I might bite. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, we've gotten a little bit of kind of first look stuff on some of the developers that have gotten it and, tested and stuff like that. But, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, really, the bad thing with any of these HMDs, it's really hard to tell from any review until you try it yourself. I mean, every single person is going to be different.
Somebody asked me, why didn't you do a full review of like the VR covers and stuff? And it's like, that's one thing that I don't want to. That's a hard thing to give a review on because every face is different. Right. Everybody's different on their opinions, the feel, the like. So I can't tell you to buy it. I can give you my opinion on it, maybe.
Right. Like for me, I think I haven't got my VR cover for the Quest yet, but I've used it on the CV1 for a really, really long time, and I love it. Like I love that feeling on my face compared to the regular foam stuff. But like Paradise Decay, he doesn't like it as much. Like he doesn't like the VR cover as much, and it's just the way his face is shaped or whatever else. Maybe the skin, people don't like different kind of textures on their skin. I mean, it's hard to say. So that's the bad thing about some of this VR stuff is it's really hard to tell you what to buy and what not to buy because you don't know until you try it. Because it's not like
you're not comparing monitors. If we were comparing a brand new TV to a computer monitor or whatever, they're physical things. They can't make any changes. It's just visuals what you see. So, but when you have it interacting with you on your face, the controllers or whatever that may be, you can't.
I mean, with the TV, you're not strapping it on your face. That's what you're doing in VR. You're basically taking your screen and you're strapping it on your face. So
I had a friend of mine. He actually my neighbor. He sent me a picture here. I think it was last week or so. That it said it was kind of like a, you know how maybe your kid when we were kids, our parents always said don't sit too close to the TV. It'll rise, right? And he sent that with like a VR headset with like that quote. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually pretty funny because these lenses now are, half an inch from our eyes.
The closer we can get them to our faces, the better. We want them as close to our eyes as we possibly can. But yeah, I mean, and I think that was an urban legend, like myth kind of thing anyways, but yeah.
Sure it is. Yeah, but if we're all cross-eyed 5 years, I mean, we'll
know why.
Yeah. We'll know who likes VR and who doesn't.
As long as we can stay not cross-eyed in VR, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Adjust the lenses or something. That's horrible.
That's hilarious.
Well, speaking of, before we get off of it, and I know I'm trying to burn through stuff here. So, the VR covers. So there's a little bit of an issue out there with them. Maybe we don't have a confirmation on that. We've actually tried to talk to some of our contacts and stuff, and really haven't had it confirmed or denied yet. But maybe the VR covers aren't fitting right. I mean, I don't want to go out there and say that. Did you have an issue with yours?
Did yours? Because I know some people were saying that they wouldn't snap in, and then every time you would pick up the headset and stuff, the VR cover would fall out.
I didn't have that issue. I never did.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I don't know either, but I mean, I guess kind of word on the street was that VR cover before or the Quest was even out, and this is for the Quest. Before it was even out, they got an early, let's just call it a CAD drawing of the Quest for them to build their products for. And I guess it was an early build, and Oculus did some changes then. So then they had the wrong headset, actually.
Yeah, there's some kind of little tabs or something that is supposed to be on them or something like that isn't holding them in right. So,
and even if it's a millimeter off, it might pop out. But I've never had an issue with mine. Mine have worked great. They've stayed in the case. I pull them in and out.
So I don't know. I don't know if anybody else in chat has gotten theirs yet. So Tyler got his early. I have ordered mine, but I haven't received it yet. And I haven't even received a confirmation email that it is shipped. I know last week, I think a couple of people in chat said they got their email that it shipped. But so I'm curious if anybody else has had that issue. But so Swift. What is that? Swift and Deadly said, my VR cover doesn't snap in on the bottom near the nose curve, but it doesn't just fall off.
Mine's a little, I don't know. At first I thought something was wrong, but then it went in and it seemed to stay in, so I haven't had to mess with it.
So I think it's Swift Silent Deadly is what that stands for, because he was on Discord and I was like, I got to figure out how to read this name because I know he's been in here a couple times.
Speaking of that, can we hit some mugshots?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, before we get too far off the beginning here? And then I can, one more thing I want to hit too is while we're playing this is somebody mentioned on our Discord, and if you guys aren't on there, hop on. We try and push stuff out there all the time. Is that the Mammut grips are back in stock?
Oh yeah, I think that was Greg's VR. I think.
Yeah, it was. So I don't know if you guys are looking to get them, grab them because I know they're low production on these.
Yeah, they sell out pretty quick.
They're so good though. They're so good.
So I actually switched these over to my Quest controllers, and I did put the strap back on too, just because I don't know, say like a backup if anybody uses it. But I did a video of playing what's that game? Sports Scramble. And I actually used, and I'm still trying to train myself to be able to open my hand, but I used those in the video. And for playing the baseball and stuff, like it was amazing how much better it felt to throw the baseball and actually open your hand. But I had to keep training myself to do it because I'm, for so many years I'm used to just releasing my middle finger, and that was what I, default to.
But see, that's a hard thing too, because then what if you have like, the knuckles? Do you have to release all your fingers to throw something? I mean,
yeah, I believe
probably.
So.
I mean,
there's a couple different ways. There's a couple different ways to do it. If you watch the Anton's video, who's the developer of H3VR, he did a devlog where showing how he's implemented the knuckles or the index controllers into his game, and it was really cool the different ways that you could do stuff to interact with stuff. I was watching that earlier, and that was really cool to see. So there's going to be some different ways to do it. So he made it to where you could pick stuff up just using your grip, or you could use the trigger, because I guess on Vive it's more most people use trigger to pick stuff up because the grip button isn't as good. So he did that for people that are so used to that. So there's going to be a couple different ways to do it. But I think to fully throw something, you are going to release your hand. But those things, I haven't used them yet, but from what everybody said is they stay on your hand pretty well. Like, I mean, there's not a whole lot of risk of it flying off unless you're, you know, sticking your
Still
hand in
scary.
motor oil beforehand or something. I don't know, but
I know it's still scary. I mean, Wii remotes always had the straps, and people threw them through TVs. So
yeah, that's just like a wrist
Bound to happen.
strap though. But yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
with the Mammut ones at least though, you can have a backup, so you can put your actual wrist strap on
You can.
and
It's
put
true.
your hand through. And I haven't had any issues with them flying off with just the hand part. But if you're
Yep.
worried about it, I mean, you put the wrist strap on. You really, it's kind of like a
Yep.
secondary, you know, feature, safety feature. But so
Yep. And if you guys want to get your mug shots in too, shoot them over to our Discord. We'll definitely throw them on
Yeah.
here when we get them.
So that's what we do. If you're new here, we have a mugshot section thanks to T-Dub with coming up with the name. And basically, you put your coffee mugs in there, whatever you want to put in there, and we usually try to get it up here on the show. So it's kind of fun. And we like to see it. I love seeing when people put some stuff on there. And some people's setups like
Oh, man.
Lethally Kill, he's got an awesome setup. VR Spry Guy, one of them in here.
Who was it that had the sticker? I think it was VR Spry Guy who had the stickers on the
Yeah,
side
right
of
here,
the
right
glass,
here.
right there.
And if you look
I want to
closely,
do that now. Now that I saw that, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
man, that
And
would
if you look closely too, he has a Vive, a Rift, and
Yep.
a Pimax all sitting there. So I thought that was cool.
so good. I need to know about that Pimax.
I know. You're still wondering about that, aren't you?
I am.
So, good stuff.
Yep, that's for sure. All right, let's see what else we got good. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about the Vive Pro Eye last show. We wanted to. Our last show.
We totally forgot.
Thing.
It wasn't on our
I
notes.
know.
It was something we wanted to talk about. That's like, if we don't have it on the
know.
notes, a lot of times we skip over it. But
I think that got dropped like 12 hours before or something we went on, so it wasn't our notes already. Oh, dude, this gives me nightmares.
This
Stop
is so
it.
creepy.
He does this when we're doing.
So this was
editing
on
stuff.
this
Oh
was
my
on something for the Vive Pro Eye that it was on. I forget what website, but they had this GIF, and
can't look, man.
it was because this is for the eye tracking, I guess, and it was actually this one here. So it was actually all three, but I zoomed in on the one, but it just shows like the eye tracking. But the thing's pretty crazy priced. I mean, this is definitely
Sure it is.
something for enterprise market, not really so much us. I mean, it's just kind of
Yeah, but
insanely
it all
priced.
trickles down after the fact.
Yeah.
Once that technology's out there.
But I don't believe it actually has foveated rendering. It just has the eye tracking so that it can be implemented in games and stuff. But I don't think they're actually taking the image in
they're
the
not?
thing. I don't believe so. I don't believe that it actually has the
but if
foveated
it has
rendering.
it, they could do it soft force.
I
mean,
would
you
think so,
that-
yeah. So I don't know if that's something that can be added
could-
in. But
Yeah.
so let's see what some people are saying. Mammut are a must-have for Quest owners. Took me 2 weeks to get mine for those.
Yeah,
Well, for
they're
those
tough to
wondering,
get,
that's
but
James
it's one
McLaughlin.
of those things. It's well worth it, guys. I mean, I love them. I really do.
Yeah, I really do.
And
too.
at first everybody was worried about the batteries and stuff. I have yet to replace my batteries.
Yeah, my batteries seem to last a while, but I mean, I don't know. But they're not hard to get off. The covers aren't hard to get off to replace the batteries, and they also keep because the magnets in the new touch controllers are not as strong as the old touch controllers. So the battery door cover does slide off easier, and that eliminates that. So that is nice. So.
Yep.
And James
I agree.
McLaughlin said my RR mug is coming on the 17th, so that's awesome.
That's
So definitely,
awesome,
and
man.
if anybody
That's
does
super
order
cool.
the rendered reality mug, make sure you post it in the mug shots. We would love to see
know.
it. So that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
we were just talking about. I think it was late last night, like midnight or something. Like what we're trying to think of new ideas of stuff to put out there. So if you guys have any good ideas too, drop them to us.
Put them in
either
the
here
comments
live.
or whatever.
Yep.
So.
I mean, give us something good because we want
Yeah.
to put some really fun.
We'd
stuff
like
out
to.
there.
We'd like to get some cool like sayings, like the one coffee cup you have says virtual reality first, that our coffee then virtual reality. Just like little things like that. But
Yep. Yeah, and we put our signatures on the one coffee mug on the back. So one of them is actually single-sided, like this one, which is super cheap. We just get it out to you guys, and then the other one has our signature on it, a little hashtag.
yeah, not a live
front
signature. It's not a live
No.
signature. It's printed, but.
Yep.
Yeah. So Mame Fan said he posted something from the VR cover people. It says, while reportedly the design change does not affect the function of our own interface, we understand that we are not meeting our own high standards. As a result, we have to redesign our product. So they are planning a redesign.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, well, at least they're standing up to it. That's super cool. And not really their fault. Probably, I don't know. You can always blame somebody. But I don't have any issues with mine. I don't need to swap them out. I'm super good.
Yeah, so James Davis 911 said if you buy the MK2 VR gun stock, the Mammut grips won't work where the magnet's attached. So I can't remember. I think that's the one that looks like the
the
little,
top
like
one.
the Mac 11 or whatever machine gun one. I believe is that one.
That
So
could
yeah,
be.
I mean, I'm not sure
Yeah.
it could.
Yeah, with gun stocks and stuff. No, I don't think you really need to use it for gun I mean, I guess you could,
With
but
the Mammut one, you should be able to. I'm sure
yeah,
they'll
I was just
design
gonna say,
theirs, which would be even better because if you can use like a Mammut
right.
gun stock where you can still
You may
use
just have
these.
to do like a reattachment, take this off, put it around the bracket as well, maybe. But there's enough slack that you
Yeah,
can
I
do
definitely
that.
think there'd be a way to do it.
Sure,
But it'll
sure.
be nice with that kind of gun stock to use these because then you just like the index when you go to throw
Yeah.
grenades and stuff in a game, it's just that much more real when you can open your hand. So
That would be cool. I can't wait to get my hands on that too. That's awesome.
yeah,
All right, so we gotta speed this up here, man.
I know we got so much to get into. So
I
let's. Do you want to talk about Holoception a little bit?
Let's do it. Absolutely.
Okay, so we got into this game. They sent us an early build. It's just like not even a beta yet, but they allowed us to go in there and check it out. And honestly, I went in. Basically, the story was they sent us the build. I was out to dinner with my wife one evening. We came back late, and I was like, well, let me just hop into it real quick, just see what it's all about. So I hopped into it real quick, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so much fun. And I ended up staying. I just wanted to look at it. I ended up staying in there for a while because I didn't want to stop because I was having so much fun. And if you don't know, it's like we do have a video on it, so you can check that out. But it's basically you're like controlling a character from the outside, and your movements are what the character does. So you're not seeing it in first person. You're seeing it in
almost like
third person.
remote control. Is that a good way of putting it? Like you're remotely controlling the character, but you still control the camera around it. It's so cool. It's so different. It's not like it's kind of like you know how if you played Moss maybe where you're controlling the mouse on the ground. That's how you control the character. But then you can also rotate the camera anywhere.
And you're not so you're using your sticks to walk, but the character does what you do. So like if you want to slash somebody with a sword, you physically do that. You go up to them and you do that. And it's like this is the kind of stuff, in my opinion, that we need in VR is people innovating and doing something completely different because there's a lot. I mean, I love first-person shooters, but there's a lot of people that just do that same thing, and the mechanics are all the same and everything else. But this is truly something different that we haven't seen in VR. And I'm not usually a fan of the third-person stuff. Like, I don't like the third-person stuff as much usually.
Sure.
But this just felt different, and you can't explain it really until you guys get to go inside of this. And it is truly a different feeling. And it really does give you that John Wick movie style feeling because they have a slow-mo and the bullet time, and it's like, oh man, it's so good.
So I just want to when I ended up making the video for it, and no, we just kind of swap back and forth between who makes what videos. And I went in and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna shoot some cool footage. I'm gonna go in and learn how it works first, and then I'll shoot a bunch of cool stuff, right, and show you guys. And I went in, and luckily I was recording from the get-go, and it was all like the controls, grabbing the guns, all felt natural. Putting them like on your side, on your back, I all did first time. Like you can even see in the video, I dropped one on accident and picked it up. Like I didn't want to edit that out because that's how I was just naturally working the game, and I didn't want to edit stuff. So
and you were giggling like crazy, which is the same thing
God.
I did the first time. I was laughing to myself so much.
Usually we try and make some videos and just show, we don't want to put our opinion in it, just kind of like we say. We do sometimes, but this one, I didn't want to lose that. I'm like, I just want to show you guys how I really felt.
The true experience of the first time.
Yeah, and like learning in game. Like I didn't know how. Like there was one I didn't know how to use the grenade.
Right, and I actually didn't figure that out. You told me how to do it.
Yeah, so you have to pull the pin and let go of the release on it as well. So when I did that, I saw a countdown timer, and I'm like, holy crap! So I just dropped it and ran.
I think what I was trying to do was just hit a button to arm it.
Sure.
I don't remember because it's because you see the small grenade on the character. You're not actually physically holding the grenade in your hand.
Yeah.
So,
and you can see your hands like kind of like puppeteer like hands in front of you, so you know what your controls are still doing.
Right.
But it's a person, and I mean, then when you if you're in panic, you can slow the time down, and then you can like run around somebody, and I did that in one of them, and I'm like running in circles around them, like shooting them across the side and stuff.
And you can physically grab them too. So you can physically grab the enemies and throw them, or like you can whip them around your head to knock down. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff. And then
you can pick up ammo, and you can pick up weapons that other guys drop. Like there's waves of people coming, and I didn't realize it, and I thought they just disappeared. And I reached down and I picked it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can actually grab their weapon now and use it, which is super cool.
So the Holoception, they said that the holo in the beginning stands for humanoid operated living organism. So I thought that was kind of cool. But so they're talking about a beta version soon.
Correct.
I believe, and they are planning to try to release on the Quest, which we know what that can be like, so we don't know for sure, and they don't know for sure if it's going to come through. But in my opinion, this game is the perfect game for Quest because they are curating that store where they don't want games that are going to make people sick or have bad experiences, where this game is a truly, I mean, it really does do away with the motion sickness. I mean, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I don't see how anybody could get motion sick in this.
The other great thing too is for like people who like either don't want to play standing or can't stand, this game would be awesome because you're using a character that's running around standing, and you could be sitting playing the whole time.
Yeah.
Now, with the Quest and the Rift S, you can adjust your floor height. So to bend over to pick stuff up, I don't know how that would work. I'm sure though when you go into it, if you're sitting, that's where your standing height is.
Probably, and you're still gonna want room to swing around and stuff. You're gonna need, like, you would want to be on a swivel chair or something like that if you are.
Sure, but you can rotate the camera and rotate your character. You wouldn't even have to move.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. You can pick up ammo in it. There's all kinds of cool things they have going on.
Yeah, I totally think this would be a perfect game for Quest, and I would have a hard time seeing them not approving this in the end when it's a finished product. I can't see that happening. But and even with some of the other stuff, with the virtual desktop stuff, there's a ton of drama with that. And even the To the Top, I guess supposedly they reached back out to the devs of To the Top and said, we'll talk a little bit more. So, I mean, there's been a lot of community backlash about it. And, I mean, they did tell us they're going to be more strict, but it's just, I don't know. It's a hard situation when it's a game that a lot of people like and a lot of people, has good reviews, but then it doesn't make it. So, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it at this point. It's so much back and forth right now that I really think that in the beginning is going to be worse, and hopefully after this has been out a while and people have experienced it, that they hopefully will kind of get a little bit more relaxed on the process, but I don't know.
Right. I don't think they will. I do think they need to go to like an early access thing maybe, if that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, that's what they said they don't want to do though with the Quest. They said that's what PCVR is for.
But not be on the store, be like a beta sign-up program or something, where you have access to it then, like Xbox does with their beta program or something, where you sign up for it, and then you only get pushed or can access stuff. But because then the normal, like, Joe Schmo that doesn't know VR and doesn't want that stuff, that's fine.
This is, I don't know. I mean, I would be very upset if this game doesn't make it to Quest because I think it's the perfect candidate. I really do. I really think, I mean, this game is innovating on stuff that, it's just doing some stuff completely different, and that's what the market needs. We need people to push the envelope, push different ideas that don't make sense on paper, that don't make sense in a video, that only make sense once you get inside that world, and that's what this game does.
And that's what draws people to VR, is doing something they can't normally do.
Right, that's what I love about it.
A lot of people that play flat just think that, it's just you strap your monitor on your face and then that's it, but it's not. It's depth, it's stuff you can't do normally. It's
right. And I mean, this is a game that for sure wouldn't make sense playing flat. Like, I don't even know how you could play it flat. You wouldn't be able to do it unless you were using maybe a Kinect or something like some of that where it's tracking your arms and stuff. I have no idea, but it's really cool.
But even to look at this, like, our video doesn't even do it justice.
No, that's
you
the
can
thing.
zoom in on the character to where he's same size as you in front of you, and zoom out, and it looks like you're playing a platformer, like a down in front.
And you can even actually pick up your own character, the character that you're controlling. You can pick them up, and it's just, I mean, it's just, I don't know how to explain it.
And they're working on the fluid.
That's physics. What I was gonna show. So where's that? So this is the fluid mechanics on the game. This is stuff that they're still working on, but just looks really cool. And if you join their Discord, they do push some of this stuff out in the showcase that just kind of shows you things they're working on.
They got my rubber duckies in there.
Yeah, man. Tyler was a big fan of the rubber duckies.
Oh, I was so excited when it squeaked.
Oh, yeah, when you squeeze it and it squeaks.
Oh, it's awesome. But yeah, it is. It's super cool what they're trying to do and stuff. Really good guys, too.
Yeah, this is awesome. So, I mean, I don't know. So this is where you slow it down. So basically you can slow it into like a slow-mo, and it shows you the way the water is reacting.
Yeah,
it's just really cool. I can't wait to try this. And we haven't got to try this out yet. This isn't in the build yet, but
yeah, they must have like a gravity point or something down in there. That's so awesome. That's so cool.
It's like it's almost like it's like he's dancing with him. You know what I mean? It's like so cool.
That's crazy. I know, it's so good.
Yeah, that looks awesome. So there's also
I was gonna say, I thought you had another one too.
Yeah. So they also have fire mechanics that aren't out yet either, and these are something that they say probably won't be out right away in the beta. This is going to be a later update. But, I mean, they're just doing so much stuff with this game that is, I don't know. It's just so cool. I mean, I can't wait to go back into it. It is one of those games that you want to play more of.
It gives me the same feeling of like going into Super Hot the first time and wanting to just keep going back in.
Yeah,
you know
it does have that kind of feeling as Super Hot. It's kind of. It does. I mean, Super Hot does something a little bit magical that a lot of other games don't do, and that's how I feel about this one too. There's a little bit of secret magic in here that just.
I don't know if it's the time bending or.
I don't know what it is.
What it is, I know, and they said they're open to like working on multiplayer even too for this.
That would be cool.
Which I mean, that would be kind of cool because what if you both could have time controls and one would slow it down and then the other one would get slowed down at the same time? That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool, actually. I haven't thought about that.
I know, that would be awesome. Yeah,
this is so awesome.
I know.
I love it.
So good. We're gonna try and drop another video to this too.
Yeah.
We may do like either a voice or like a live stream like this and really go in depth to it and maybe show you guys some stuff.
More of like a review kind of a thing maybe. Because what we did, the first video was just kind of show you our reaction to the game kind of. Yeah, I don't even know. But
so cool.
Yeah.
I know. The swords, I love the leg sweeps with the swords and cutting their legs off or their arms.
Yeah, you
like
can
the one I
dismember
grabbed
their
the guy
bodies
and I was carrying him and I cut the arm off with the sword as I was running in another guy and then chucked the arm across.
Yep.
Oh, it felt so good.
I know, it's so cool. And a lot of people are saying that it looks really good, it looks fun, and it really is. So I'll definitely be excited for you guys to be able to try this one. This one is definitely, and we've talked about it a couple times on the show actually. And I'm sure we will talk about it more probably. So.
Yep, but keep it up, guys. You know the Holonautic guys.
Yeah, I don't know if they're in here. They were in the chat yesterday when we did a premiere for that one. So I'm not sure if they're in here. They're in what country are they in? Switzerland or something? I can't remember.
Norway.
I can't remember, but they're definitely not in the same time zone. So they're a completely different time zone than we are. I can't remember now, but so I don't know if this. I don't even know what time this would be there. But so go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you can go ahead real quick.
I was just going to say that I was going to change the subject too, but I was just going to say that they did announce that Oculus sold $5 million in Quest content in the first 2 weeks. So, which is pretty good. I mean, and I think that number could be even bigger, but there's still a large amount of people that can't even get their hands on it yet. You know what I mean? Like it's still sold out in a lot of places. So, and I've actually thought about buying a second one, and I haven't been able to. There was actually one that popped up online that was available at Best Buy by my work, and I was thinking about running down there to get it. And like I was kind of dragging my feet a little bit. I refreshed the page and it said sold out again. So it was like literally the only one like in the whole state at that point in time or whatever. But so it's kind of crazy. Yeah. So main office is in Switzerland. That's what is he one of the developers?
Wait, who?
Roger Kung?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
I think so. I think that's
remember.
Just his name on YouTube.
YouTube. Okay.
Yep. That's him.
So yeah, main office is in Switzerland. Oh, and there's another one. Yeah. Okay, they are here. So Denny's.
Yep. Yeah, they both are.
Okay. Awesome. Yep. So yeah, those are the developers of the
guys.
game.
Keep pushing those limits. I mean, you're killing it. Just keep doing what you're doing, man.
So Don't change it. It is awesome. Definitely. I definitely can't wait till everybody else can get into it and just let us know what they think of it too, because it's definitely something different. And I don't know.
I know. The stuff they have like a tutorial that you walk through, and you guys didn't get to see this, and I don't want to ruin everything for the game, but they had like signs on the side that were whiteboards that kind of showed you the controls and stuff, and there was a table over there, and I went through it the first time and just kind of looked at it. You're worrying about what you're doing, the controls, and I went through it again when I loaded the game up, and there was a table there, and there were markers on there, colored markers,
like dry erase markers for a dry erase board.
Interesting. So I picked one up and I went over to the dry erase board and started drawing, and I'm like, "Oh, this is cool."
I did the same thing.
Not even part of the game, It's like
I did the exact same thing, and it was funny because I saw the marker there and I picked it up, and I was thinking to myself like, "Oh, that would be really cool if you could draw on this board." And I was like, "But I doubt it." I mean, for some reason my brain was like, "I don't think so." So I went like that, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I giggled. Like I giggled so many times playing this game, but it made me laugh because I just wasn't expecting that, and you could totally draw on the board. And everything so far that I've been in the game, everything is pretty interactive. Like most things, if you see them there, you can pick them up. Like, and that's another thing that I really like. That really adds to VR games, and more people need to do that as well. Like, I mean, whatever it is, when we're in VR, we want to pick stuff up.
I know.
I don't know what that is,
try and push and I couldn't maybe yet, but I was trying to like push the boxes and stuff. Like in the game, like the big crates and stuff, I was trying to like push them to like block guys from come up the steps and stuff. I was trying like everything I could think of because everything worked, I'm
excited for the flamethrower and that fluid motion thing. I think that fluid motion thing is really cool. I don't know how they're going to implement it all into the game, but I mean, they obviously have some great ideas, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they do that.
Oh, no, that's super cool stuff. So, all right, the other thing I want to hit too is how about these lenses?
Oh yeah.
Super cool. These are
The
awesome.
Widmo.
I can't believe how good these are. I have one sitting here, actually. It's hard to see. But it took me a minute to get them on. And I know we talked about in our video, there's a snap ring on the lens.
There's a ring, a black ring that goes around the lens in the headset.
Yeah. But man, are these, I did not know how much I actually liked these until I had them. Because I wear glasses as well. Like, I have contacts in right now. But normally, a lot of nights and stuff, I have glasses on, just like Sean. So for me, it's one extra step I don't have to do. But I think the most rewarding, though, is I felt like whenever I have glasses on, it's harder to find that sweet spot of where the headset needs to sit. When I have these on, there's not an issue at all.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's a wider sweet spot than I ever had before.
See, for me, like, I always wear glasses. I don't have contacts. Right. So, I mean, I've always struggled with that, taking the headset on and off, your glasses moving, adjusting the glasses, and it's a pain in the butt, you know what I mean? Like, this is nice because, and it also, these glasses that I have, luckily, there's a couple different kinds of ways they make lenses, and these ones that I have haven't seemed to scratch the lenses. And my CV1, I've used them in there for a long time, but you don't always know, when it's a new headset and stuff, you don't always know it. So that does eliminate that problem, too, of getting the scratched lenses, which nobody wants to do.
Well, my other issue, they always fogged up, and yours too.
Yeah, my glasses.
Your glasses always fog up. Where now, I don't think that it has ever happened.
Yeah, I haven't actually, because usually what it did for me is, like, if I got out of the shower after work and we were jumping on, that was when my glasses would fog up the most. And I don't think I've done that yet with these new lenses, so I'll have to check that out. But I mean, they are almost in a sense lens protectors too, because as long as these are on, you're protecting the lenses in the headset, and these are about $65. And that's much easier to replace than to replace another headset, So that's.
I couldn't imagine if you had to send it back and pay Oculus to put new ones. I don't even know if you can. Have they done that?
I don't know.
Like repairs? Will they do like
just
at cost
a lens
repairs?
replacement?
I know some companies, like all the 360 cameras and stuff I buy, they'll replace lenses, but it's like $150 or something.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Just for a lens on those. So I know that's hard.
It's pretty cool.
Yep.
So definitely check those out. That's WidmoVR. So and I do believe the prices change depending on your prescription. I think the base price is $65, but somebody commented in a video or something that said for their prescription it was a little bit extra money because it was probably a thicker lens or whatever it may be. But so
And these are 3D printed, but they're the exact same shape, and the lenses are the same shape and size as the ones in the headset, too.
Yeah, and they're easy to take on and off. So if you're worried about wanting somebody else to try the headset, they pop off real easy when you want to take them off. So that
you don't have to have that plastic ring either.
Yeah, you don't have to put that plastic ring back on, right?
No, it doesn't retain anything or do anything.
Yeah, so Fantasy Film said I need a lens that is anti-fogging for my Vive. So I wonder, they do need to do, actually make lenses with some kind of built-in I don't know if that's a...
So my thought was, for a lot of my 360 cameras, and they sell them for GoPros, when you put them in the case, there's an issue with fogging because of moisture and going underwater. But they sell these little, white tabs that's absorbing moisture tabs. I wonder if you can buy a bag of them, and I sure look on Amazon. I'll find a link or something and throw it in, but they you could throw one of those in the headset maybe. I don't know.
I wonder if that would affect your eyes at all. I wonder if that would bother your eyes, like if it would dry out your eyes.
No, shouldn't.
You don't think so? Yeah, I have no idea.
No, it doesn't dry it out that much. I mean, it would be all it can do to absorb it probably.
That's not a bad idea.
That would. I mean, they're cheap. You can probably buy a bag of them for $5 or $6 for 20 of them or something.
And some people in chat are talking about Beat Saber. I just saw that. They're talking about that. They do have that. Yeah, they do have the 360 update that's coming out. That'll be pretty cool. So that actually, I guess it gives you some kind of indicator when you're in the headset of which way the track is coming. But I think that will be cool. I think that'll add definitely another, especially for the people that are ridiculously good at Beat Saber.
Oh, yeah.
That should add another element that they have to master in a sense. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know how much harder it'll be, but it'll definitely be another element to try to master. But I think that would be cool, especially with the Quest where you have no wires. You can spin around. You just feel a little bit more immersion, I would think, into the game instead of just standing stationary. So that is really cool.
Yeah, it is. Vader Immortal.
That's coming to Rift.
The Rift, right.
The 20th? Yeah, coming to Rift on the 20th.
This month,
Yep.
So. Which that's super cool. Which people should be excited about that, because if you don't have a Quest, you haven't been able to really play it or see it.
Right.
And it is awesome. It's
cool.
really good.
And I imagine it'll look even better on the Rift S too.
Oh yeah. So the funding for that, rights to all this stuff. I'm
looking forward to episode 2. I don't know how long that's going to be till that comes out, but I am looking forward to that. And so another one that looked really cool was Rogan Thief in the Castle. And I don't think I've seen this before. I don't think I've heard about it before E3. I'm not going to play the audio.
Yeah.
But it definitely looks pretty cool. I mean, you kind of have to like sneak around a little bit, and it's old. You know, it takes place like in an old castle, so the atmospheres are really cool looking.
I hope all of this is in game. That was my only hope. That this is
it looks like in game footage. Yeah, it looks a lot of it looks like when you see the hands and stuff like that. But yeah, it's hard to say. Like right here, I would think that would be in game, but it's hard to say. But it does look really good, and this is kind of a long trailer, so I don't know if we'll play the whole thing, but this is one that seems pretty exciting though.
I know. The dark stuff too is going to start looking better on all these newer headsets.
Yeah, well,
really will.
Maybe because we're going to LCD, but
yeah, but still, I don't know.
I haven't really noticed any issues in the Rift S with the blacks and stuff. I don't know if I'm just not that perceptive to it, but I haven't noticed. I haven't been in anything and been like, man, this doesn't look black. You know what I mean? Like I haven't.
I'm curious, and maybe we could talk about it later. But like the index too is like. Maybe to get into that is
we'll get into some of that later, yeah.
The God rays and stuff, yeah.
For sure. But I mean, this game looks good though. This is another game, and there's the other one was Aspire 1. Yeah. That seems to be pretty talked about right now, pretty anticipated. I know Anthony from VR365 actually tried that at GDC, and he said it was pretty good. I don't know if he was as blown away as some of the other people were, but he said it was definitely pretty good. So that's another one that is looking pretty good.
It does look good. Let's see, what else did we want to hit here?
So much.
I know, right? Oh, Battle Wake coming to Quest.
Yeah, which that's going to be kind of crazy. That looks pretty visually intense, so it'll be interesting to see what they have to do to get that to Quest levels. But I've been impressed. I've been impressed with what they've been doing. I don't think they should have
too hard of a time getting it to that.
Yeah, I mean, everything I've seen in Quest is, I
know. Surprisingly, it doesn't really. I don't feel like I'm wearing a completely different, cheap and dumbed down headset.
I don't really either. I mean, I've been impressed with what they've been able to do. I mean, it's pretty. Like before it came out, I was like, well, I'm gonna get a Quest because it'll be cool to take people and show people stuff. But I was like, I probably will never play it. But I've actually been playing it a decent amount. Like, I've actually really been enjoying it. And I love the fact that it does have the YouTube app, which I know Steam has a YouTube app, which I haven't tried, but the reviews are really bad on it if you look on Steam. Yeah. So I don't know if it's something completely different. But I have been using YouTube a lot in the Quest, and the wife has been using it like crazy. She's been. That's the reason I want to buy another one, because she plays box VR almost every day now.
Yeah, that's her like one workout even nowadays.
And she's never liked VR like this before. Right. So I just love that she's been so into box VR, and I really have been too. I really do enjoy the game. It's a lot of fun. I don't know. I do really like it. So and they're actually. I think they just did an update, or the update is coming for that. And I don't know what all is going to be in the update, but I'm glad to see that they're.
I do need to let my wife try that too. She still hasn't tried it. I bet she would love that too, because she does like a nightly workout and stuff all the time.
I mean, it is a good workout, but you're having fun. I mean, she'll go into it for like an hour, and it's like you have fun doing it. So it's not like I just worked out for an hour, that sucked, you know what I mean, or anything like that. It was like I just played an awesome game for an hour, and I got a workout. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, somebody in chat said they want to see a good multiplayer chess game. That's awesome.
That'd be cool.
I
want to see a lot of just like Poker Stars. I want to see that iteration. I hope that company makes a whole lot more than just poker, because I like their implementation of all the things you can do in the game. And
I know. Could you imagine like a real casino with other people walking around even in it?
Yeah.
You know, and like money coming out of like slot machines flying on the floor and filling it up and stuff. Or
that'd be cool.
You could do such cool stuff. Or like a chess where the figures actually like, you know, when you took somebody over, it would actually like eat them or like be interactive or something. You could do so much cool stuff.
We just need the metaverse. We need the metaverse where you can go to the casino to try to win money to go buy the car in the one car game that you love. You know what I mean? It's just it all needs to be intertwined together, but somehow we're a long ways away from that, I think. But
we are. That's all right.
Well, we've done pretty good with rolling through a lot of stuff pretty quick. So
I know. Do we have anything else we want to?
I did want to show the trailer for the.
How about any giveaways? We didn't draw for the Gleam.
Oh, that we need to do too.
We do, I know, but.
So what do you guys want? This?
Maybe that's what they want.
So that is a Moss Oculus
about
Quest
third-person control.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yep. Yeah, that's super cool. That game's a lot of fun. That game really is. That's one I can like leisurely play too.
Yeah, and the wife likes that one too. She does like that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do we want to try and draw for the for Contractors?
Yeah, we can do that.
Or do we have enough
give
time?
This a second
we could do it after if we needed to, but
Yeah,
but
we
maybe
can do
there
that.
won't be an after.
And I mean, we're going to draw it either way, even if we just we'll email the winner and we'll put it on the Discord. But
why don't you just draw it and announce it real quick?
Okay. While this is up.
Are we pulling it up?
Yep. Draw winners.
Are you going to
show draw the winner. I'm not going to show it. I'll just leave this up. So I'm going to draw it now. Okay. One winner to draw. Drawing. And we have...
And you left it up.
Left what up?
Nothing.
Oh. We have Danny O. So that is the winner of Fairfield, California. Danny
nice. That's
O.
Awesome.
So I
he might not be awake yet, so...
He might not, so we will send an email out after the show. We'll send an email out to him. So that is the winner of the Contractors key giveaways, Danny O.
That's awesome.
That's pretty awesome. And hopefully somebody got this quest code. I'm going to pop that down. So one thing I did want to...
I forgot to look, too, just while we're on it, is Contractors. Has the play count gone up?
I haven't looked lately. I have not looked
yet either. Since
and it's still hard because it's on Oculus and the VR LFG doesn't show the Oculus, so it's going to be hard to see the true.
When it's more populated, there's more people.
I mean, even the people on Steam, if there is crossplay, which I believe there is, that more people on Steam will play because there's more people to play with. So So I did want to show the new update coming to H3VR, which is hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. So I'm going to play this trailer real quick and put some audio on it.
Oh yeah, this was dropped at E3. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this is super cool. We have audio. Yeah. Our background.
So this is of all Team Fortress 2 weapons and skins and stuff, and he's actually built these guns basically from the ground up. I've watched one of his dev vlogs where he was talking about it. It's crazy.
His reflections and textures on those guns are just amazing.
Yeah.
His AI and stuff is so good.
I like the end here. I love when people do this.
He boosts himself up.
I love that. I love that. That's so cool.
Just destroying.
So I think this is supposed to come out on the 28th.
Yeah.
Yep, 6/28.
Yeah, 28th right there. Yep.
So.
It is. That's awesome. Oh, man.
That's pretty sweet. Yep. So that is all the Team Fortress 2 stuff. And that, like we said, on the 28th, and if you watch some of his devlogs, he actually goes in. He does a lot of devlogs actually when he does updates, and he's updating this game all the time. And I mean, the interactions and stuff that he puts with these weapons. I mean, it's not just a weapon model that's just put into the game and it's good to go. I mean, the amount of work that he puts into each one of these weapons is hard to believe. I mean, it's pretty insane.
Visually, audio, feedback.
Yeah, the audio is insane. Yeah. The audio is really good. I mean, I mean, it's.
I know. And, that's one of those games, it's been out for a long time. So people just coming in, too, but these games that have come out a long time ago, they might still be good, but they're not abandoned. But a lot of times they are.
This is not.
These updates for H3 come out, I mean, bi-weekly, weekly.
I mean, they come out, it seems like, pretty often. He's always adding stuff in here. And this should be a pretty big update. So this is going to be... Yeah. This is going to be pretty cool. And if there's a lot of Team Fortress 2 fans and stuff, they will definitely love this. So, and then Valve actually gave him the rights to use all of these weapons and stuff like that in the game. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I don't think let's see, did Valve drop this actually? Was Valve the one that dropped the trailer for this at E3?
I don't think so. I think it was Anton, I believe.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. But
yeah, that is awesome.
Getting some buzzing through the. It went away.
Yeah, I hear that. I need to get rid of my watch. Maybe my smartphone.
Tyler's microphone is interfering with so much of his other electronics. Like, he can't be on his cell phone. It comes through. I know if some of you guys were watching last week, we talked about that, and it was getting feedback through the mic. It was kind of crazy, but
I know. I have way too many electronics in like a 5-foot radius of where my microphone is.
I don't know what it is. I haven't had any issues with mine. I haven't had that I know of. I haven't had any feedback issues and stuff.
I think I'm gonna end up picking up a Rode or something.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm gonna pick up. I don't know. Cool. Everyone seems to like them.
They make good stuff.
I know. Yeah, that's true.
So somebody asked, "Do you guys watch VR League?" And I have not been watching that.
No.
Have you?
No, we haven't.
Probably need to though. That's probably something I need to do.
I know. Yeah. We haven't watched that. See, they're mainly playing Onward. Is that what it? Is that their go-to?
I don't know. I know they do play a lot of Onward. I believe. That's what he's talking about.
I don't know how far they venture out of Onward, or I don't know either. I do need to watch it. I used to watch a lot of those types of streams like on Xbox, and I really did enjoy them. Like I would throw on like eating dinner, and I would sit and watch, you know, a round or something. And that was really cool. But no, I actually haven't watched any of the VR League stuff, but really should.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think Chatty was the one that redeemed the Moss code.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Is that who that was? Redeemed. Yep. Redeemed. Thank you. Take hands off keyboard. Awesome. So we should be having our guest here calling in pretty soon. It should be scheduled for 11 o'clock.
I can probably arrange that.
This needs moved up. I kind of blocked out the code here. So if you didn't win the code in the email, we have another one here for you. So this is the second chance to win the Contractors for the Oculus store. If you guys don't have this, and this is one of our favorite games. We do love this game. This is definitely close to our hearts.
Yep. It's really good. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to play. That's for sure. All right, we should be good. I think we might have somebody joining us right now.
Let's see here.
Howdy, howdy.
Hey, it worked. It
there
worked.
He is. How about
Perfect.
that?
Hey!
We were on here last night trying to get all this working. We had some issues with getting his video feed in, and he has his coffee, which is a requirement. If you don't drink coffee, I don't know if we could be friends if you didn't drink coffee.
with our Lord Jerry the Lemon on it.
There we go.
That's awesome. That is a solid cup. Too.
That is awesome. So I don't know if there's anybody in here that doesn't know who Anton is. I don't know if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, just in case. I imagine everybody knows, but
he is the hardest working developer in VR. I will say that.
That is probably true.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. I'm Anton. I'm the CTO at Rust Limited and development and project lead on Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades.
And we just showed the trailer. We just got done showing the trailer a few minutes ago for the new update. That is coming on the 28th, so.
Do we have an icon for that?
Oh, yeah.
I think you do.
That one?
Yeah.
It was missing.
That's what I kind of, our thumbnail, we didn't get to talk about it last night, but we were kind of holding out on you. We used your the one scene that you used in Meat Fortress. So we actually put your face on one of the hot dogs as well as ours with coffee. So if you haven't seen
it might be a little scary, but it's awesome.
Yeah,
and we're all drinking coffee. We all three have our coffee cups, so.
I figured it was
appropriate.
Yeah, definitely appropriate.
Yeah, and it's actually early his time, so we're really glad he's here.
Yeah, we had to wake him up extra early this morning to get him to come on, so he is on the West Coast.
Yep, I'm still kind of like, what's going on? Where am I? So.
That's all right. We'll take it easy. We won't
good
go too hard at you.
So it says the audio is doubled. Sounds strange. So
Audio?
let me.
Interesting.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Can you still hear me?
How about now? So I muted his feed, so hopefully it just comes through as one feed now. If maybe somebody in the chat can.
That's what it would be. Sure.
Testing 1 2. Everyone can still hear me?
So nobody has said anything yet.
Yeah, it's funny because on our end,
it's weird when he joined
it actually
both of
sounds
them.
great, but we're all in a
right. Yeah, we're in a so.
Yep.
So
all
people
right.
are saying echo, but they're a little bit behind us. So hopefully we'll give it a second, and they'll hopefully.
Yep. Absolutely.
Be good to go.
Yeah, but deal with the same thing, especially switching on and off wearing an HMD. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Always the technical difficulties that are okay. So now they said it sounds good, so it sounds good now. So that is good.
So speaking of updates, we were just talking about how you update your game more than anybody on the planet because we just, and I'm sure you didn't hear it because I knew you were probably rolling out of bed literally as we were calling. But most of the games that have been out for a long time, everybody kind of drops and doesn't do updates and stuff. How often you update your game? I mean, bi-weekly, weekly, monthly. I mean, it's nonstop. It seems like.
Yep, and at the very beginning, it was pretty much weekly, and then it shifted to different cadences based upon the demands. Especially once I got sort of a pipeline that also supported having a beta branch and sometimes an even more beta branch on top of that. And it's only been fairly recently that I've put a little more space in between the actual releases. Because I've been doing more substantive, like polish something up refactors where I have to actively break something in the game that takes me longer than a week to put back together functionally.
Sure.
So
Yeah, a lot of repairing on the other side of it. Yeah, when you want to implement something, yeah, then now you've ruined everything else. I get that. Yeah, it is. That's got to be hard. I mean, it's fun though to see it go out, but do you know those numbers too? Like how many people like update and stuff? Do you get to see all that or no?
I mean, I get to see the sort of default Steam user side
Sure.
Data in terms of like what the concurrency is, sales, wish lists, etc. But beyond that, like I don't collect any analytics data at all. I'm philosophically opposed to it in our current era. I think the biggest solution to problems of like data security and privacy is don't collect the data in the first place. Like don't collect it, don't aggregate it, don't be responsible for other people's privacy.
That's good.
So I don't want the information, and I do not collect it.
Yeah, there's some games I feel like that get pushed out there just for that. You know, you can tell.
Especially on mobile.
Oh yeah.
The amount of games on mobile that are just Trojan horses for data collection is preposterous. And like it's a flashlight application, but really it's just there to get your contact list.
Right.
Yeah, because what's it cost them to make that? Nothing. You know, for
insane.
what they're getting out of it too. Yeah. That's
so H3VR came out in 2016. Is that right?
Yep.
I knew it was early in the consumer VR space for sure. So it's been out a long time.
The first version of it launched with the release of the Vive.
Right.
So.
Yep. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are just now getting into VR that probably don't even know about this game. So I think it's a great opportunity just to talk about the game, to bring it up, because I mean it is an excellent game that if you go to the Steam, I mean the reviews are like overwhelmingly positive, and that's what it says on the Steam page is overwhelmingly positive. Like I mean that's hard to achieve.
It is the highest rated VR game out there, period, with like 4,000 reviews. It's not like it has like 500 or 200.
And this is VR. It's hard to get that many reviews in a game, and there's not that many games that reach those kind of numbers in VR yet. Hopefully that'll change, but you know it's still early in VR days for reaching those numbers, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is. You've done. That's very impressive, because even early on, you know, those bad reviews don't go away. You know, so you have done a really good job of filtering out, you know, all the bad. Not in the update or of reviews, but in the game, you know, of not pushing out stuff that's, you know, broken and then throwing it out to the public just to try it, you know, which some places do, and that's fine too. But you've done a really good job with it. You really have.
Those numbers are impressive. Definitely impressive. So, and how many people are on your team?
Well, at Rust, our sort of group, we're a group of 4 best friends that met each other all at the University of Buffalo, my goodness, like 11 or 12 years ago at this point.
That's really fun.
I was an instructor at the University of Buffalo. Adam and Luke were graduate students there, and Lucas was an undergraduate student who had actually been in both one of my classes and one of Adam's classes. And so we had originally sort of befriended each other, started working as pairs on various sort of interesting projects, sort of like little experimental digital art here, sort of a proto game there, and then sort of slowly formed into a group of 4. And we're basically doing art games for a while, and then started doing contract work as a group as we just became more formalized as a group. And then we all migrated out here to the West Coast, like one at a time, to sort of to you know, make it West Coast game development. This is the first sort of finished game that we have sold. So
that's awesome. Man,
awesome.
Yeah, the contract work, I mean, a lot of guys do that too. I mean, because you have to have a base income coming in where you can work on a project that is not funded.
It isn't just the income, though, and this is something that I get asked by a lot of folks, where did you get the skill set to do this? How do you turn out lots of updates? The answer to all of those questions is a decade of being a freelancer and doing contract work, especially because as a group, one of our specialties had been to do these like fairly high fidelity, high test projects that were always on impossible deadlines. We were the 4 to 8 week impossible project built in the Unity engine specialists. And we did it in the ArcViz sector. We did it for like graphic tech demos. We did it for stuff for universities. And so when you get used to evaluating a new problem space, rapidly coming up with a solution for it, executing it technically, executing the layer of it that's about presentation and communication and concept, and then just finishing it in a way that works in that time scale. Turns out that's a skill set that's really useful for updating a video game constantly.
Sure, yeah.
That's awesome.
Which is crazy, because when we talked, we talked for a while last night, which we meant to just get on to make sure we were good for today. And we kind of snowballed, and that's kind of how we always, Sean and I are, and it sounds like you are too with your guys. But we ended up talking for a while, and I was really surprised that you actually didn't go to school for programming in itself or game design. That's pretty amazing. I mean, you're basically self-taught. Yeah. And so are the other guys on your team like that as well, or do some have a background?
We all have various permutations of art degrees. And when I say art, I mean it in a very sort of broad term. Like, we went to, each of us, the University of Buffalo's Media Studies department is very broad in its focus and allows you to pursue lots of different things. And obviously everyone had their own sort of built-in sort of secondary skill sets and abilities that went with that as well. Adam just finished his PhD at USC in their IMAP program as well, which also has had a lot of crosstalk with games there. So it's not to say that none of us had exposure to programming. It's just none of us pursued engineering-oriented degrees.
More focused on that. Yeah.
Yep. It's all, we all came at it significantly more from a creative coder hybridist's perspective.
I think that's a good thing, though, because when you introduce all those different skill sets, you're now for people that are, better than just one that knows that, because you can all specialize in something you're good at. Or like, hey, you pass this on to him, or you're going to handle this section.
Than I am,
which is awesome.
And we all really aggressively cross-train in a big way, and have over the course of things. Like, when we first started as a group, I was almost entirely a 3D artist. That's what I did. I worked in Maya. I understood, I could poke at code in Unity, but for the most part, I created environments and props. And nowadays, the only sort of modeling I really do is plumbing, is like fixing other people's meshes, really technical stuff. Almost everything I do is programming and design. And so
you guys are building all of your, everything in game then is built, strictly from you guys. That's awesome. Yeah. Because a lot of guys, buy or use or contract out, assets and stuff like that.
Well, the assets, the firearm assets are very much a collection of like licensed, acquired, donated.
Sure. That kind of stuff.
Like a preposterous number of 3D artists at this point have contributed to that. But the code base is very, very bespoke.
Yeah.
Sometimes for good, sometimes for bad.
And I was telling people too earlier about your devlogs and stuff. If they go to your channel, you do a lot of stuff that shows what you're doing and what you're working on, and just the amount of work that goes into the firearms. It's not like you just take a rendered image of the firearm and that's what you get. These have full interaction. It's insane the amount of work that you put into these things. So were you a big firearms enthusiast to begin with? Because your amount of knowledge of firearms is very vast. So I was curious of what.
I was into them from a fairly young age. In part, it's the sort of like the sequence of interests of like young Anton was very much like, I was into machines of many kinds. My first love in life was locomotives, trains. And I think there's actually a lot that a train and a firearm share as a mechanism, because they are these metal cycling sort of constructs. And so I remember being young with my brother, sitting down, and we had just visual encyclopedias of firearms, and we would just look at them. So for me, it was as much about just them as aesthetic objects as anything else. And I'll tell you, starting this project was a very, very quick wake-up call to how much I did not know.
So it's been a learning process throughout the past 3 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been taking on another discipline, both from a historical and from an engineering standpoint.
That's awesome.
Over the course of it. And I definitely, it was like jumping in the deep end at first, when I all of a sudden realized that by putting this product out to the world, I was interfacing immediately with people who had so much more knowledge. than I did.
On guns,
and they were gracious and patient and always volunteered information and pointed me in great directions. And like early on, I'll never forget, I had an early user who was like a competitive shooter, and he had like the handgun that he used. He was basically like, just your trigger reset point is wrong on this pistol, and it's messing up my muscle memory. So if you want me to continue playing your game, you need to fix the trigger reset point on this and make it so that it resets sooner, so I don't have to release my finger all the way. And I was like, I don't own that handgun, but yours on a table, pull the trigger, release it to the reset point, and put a ruler over it. I can just match my implementation in game to it. Exactly. And he did that, and I did that, and I got like a message back like an hour after I pushed the update. It's like, it's perfect now.
Oh, that's awesome. That is really cool.
I was working with a set of devs, and they had I forget what it was, a 1911 in game. And I'm like, I looked down at it, and it was wrong. It just felt wrong.
Oh, size-wise, yeah.
The scale was off. It was perfect, but scale was wrong. So I held it up. I'm like on screen with them, like we would be. And I'm like, look, here's how big it is in my hand. It's not what you have it, And they're like, whoa, we didn't realize the 1911 was way bigger, a little bigger than a regular, So it's like those physical things. You have to realize.
You notice them. You do notice them if you're that familiar with an object. You notice it.
VR
in
VR is that real.
If scale is off a couple percent,
absolutely.
If it's more than 2 to 3%, you will notice it. And the thing is, finding actual dimensions for real world objects that you do not own is harder than it seems, because even a source like Wikipedia will have stats down, missing important context in terms of the generation of those stats. And I've in the past had moments where I scaled something based on a number I found and didn't realize, like, oh, this was in fact with the stock extended, but it didn't say that next to the number. Yeah. And so for me, the only process I found that truly has worked consistently is to always start with the cartridge, which is much easier to get exacting dimensions of, and work up from the cartridge.
That's true. Scale the cartridge right, and then boom, build it off that. Yeah, that's true.
That blows my mind.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. But that's the amount of work that I think a lot of people don't realize. Everyone jumps into a game, they want to criticize this and say this and that, and they don't realize how much work you guys put into it.
Yeah.
And it's tough. But that's again why you have. Your ratings on the game are just off the charts. So I get it. So
that work goes a long way. But let me get to a couple questions people are asking. So so Paradise Decay said, how did you pick the name and why for Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades?
So basically we had because the game sort of grew out first as just a set of experiments with several virtual objects. Some firearm models. We were doing some early throwing experiments. So I had already put a horseshoe in there just because that makes a great sound, and we wanted to see how the throwing felt with it, as well as an actual hand grenade. There's that old adage, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And so we were like, all right, well, we all as a group really like alliteration. So we were trying to find something that was like playfully coherent with horseshoes, hand grenades, and firearms, and we were like, well, those are all elements of Americana to a certain degree. And I was like, grilling, I can't remember which of us sitting at the table shouted it out, and that's where hot dogs came for it, and it had a nice rhythm to it. We're all addicted to puns and wordplay like that. And so it seemed unusual and fun and very us.
Yeah, that's awesome. That really does help. I mean, you have to. If not, I mean, where's the soul in it? You know what I mean? You have
for sure.
A lot of games don't have soul, and
And it has ended up being the most useful thing to return to for inspiration over and over and over again over the past 3.5 years. So. It was absolutely the right move.
You don't want to go real serious with it, and you want to be playful with it at the same time, so you got to find that balance. Yeah, that's fun.
In an important way, it was a way of sort of signaling to people that this wasn't going to be this super self-serious, aggressive, milsim kind of thing. It was going to contain, these realistic simulations of firearms and a lot of sport shooting content, but it was always going to be coming from this way more sort of, goofball, zany, eclectic sort of perspective.
Which comes across before even like reading anything about it, because the title in itself is a little bit, out there like that. So that's perfect. I know, it really is.
Definitely. So Jim Hall said he's going to buy H3 right now. And somebody else asked, let's see, fantasy film.
Endless playtime inside of there, because there's so really much. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can spend days in there and still not experience everything.
Right.
And let me just say to those for anyone who is picking up the game today, there is a set. It has very little in-game tutorialization. It is a simulation game at heart, and so it has a bit of a skill curve. And there is a quick start guide video series on YouTube. So if you just type in H3VR tutorial, you will find the quick start guide playlist. I recommend you at least watch the first 2 videos, because it'll show you how to configure your locomotion, handle basic objects, and manipulate ammunition and duplicate it off of your inventory on your chest.
Yeah, there is a lot to know and a lot to learn. It is a learning experience going into the game once you figure everything out.
I actually like not knowing as much going in, because for me, the fun is experiencing and learning inside, like something new, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can do this,
Right.
I think that's a lot of fun.
There's a lot of interaction with all of these weapons, and I mean, there's fireworks, and I mean, there's just so much stuff in the game to experience. There really is.
And if you can't figure out how a firearm works in the game, like, I don't know how to get the safety off on this, what is going on, just look up a YouTube video of the real thing and see if there is a step you are missing that the real one requires to operate.
Which is awesome. That is that. Yeah, that is one of my.
I know that's one of our favorite things. And Sean too's a big gun nut and stuff. And I do like guns. I don't have maybe as many as Sean, but yeah, that's great. The realism part of that is just amazing.
So Fantasy Film Production asked, when will this game be out of early access?
Your guess is as good as mine.
So you start another project, right?
What we've done in the past is pick sort of what the general focus and priorities for the game are in roughly 6-month chunks based on things, and we have definitely moved into the phase pardon me, that is about polish and about finishing up the ideas in the game that are worth finishing up, and sort of like pushing onto the shelf the ones that really aren't. So like we just finished a rework of Taken Hold, which is basically the most popular game mode in the game, that took several months, took a ton of effort, and that really is the culmination of a year of working on the AI for the game, because that deserved to be polished to a really great extent. And I would like to bring that much polish to, say, a final system for people who are more just into the sandbox shooting range. But once we've done that with enough things, get a little more in-game, get a better onboarding experience, I think that's the point we would feel comfortable transitioning to a 1.0 release.
Sure. And I think nowadays, the whole term early access, I mean, it's early now games, that used to be, you thought early access was like a beta, or, now stuff gets released as early access and just means that it's constantly being worked on, at least how I see it as a consumer. That's how I feel early access is anymore. But
yeah, especially if you look at like games like RimWorld and such, like what early access really meant with that game was just, ongoing work in progress, ongoing expansion, and then when you transition off that title, it's more about we are mainly bug fixing, little bits of UX and polish, but it's content complete.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's how how H3 is too. It's constantly being updated, so it's not like it's an early access title that went onto Steam and then it never goes anywhere. Nobody ever does anything with it. That's not this game for sure. So.
No, that's your bread and butter. That's awesome.
Yeah. Great, man. So the Meat Fortress update, that is just a update to H3VR, and is that going to cost an extra amount of money, or is that a free update that comes to the game?
It's a free update like all the others.
That's awesome. So just in case anybody was wondering. So a lot of people have said they're picking up this game today, and I'm surprised at the amount of people that haven't played this yet, because it has been out for a long time, but it's just there's so many new people coming in, you know what I mean, that they need to hear about it and check it out.
It's not just that, but like we do zero traditional marketing at all We have never bought an advertisement other than a limited thing to press at a GDC ago and a couple like university shows. We don't even really like take it to conventions or anything like that. So our audience has always sort of grown very organically.
Yeah.
And so I'm not surprised that large groups of people don't end up hearing about the game. And it also even like it reads a little weirdly on the store. There's a lot like if you buy it based upon what you see in the trailers on the store and then you get in, you tend to be surprised at how much stuff there is in the genre about. And I prefer that in a way. I like that to be like, wait, what do you mean? There's a horror game in here too. Like, I like that to be. I think that's as much part of the discovery process inside the game as how to operate any one of the firearms. So
yeah, it's always better to under promise and over deliver than the opposite.
Right.
You know, you see all these games that look so great. This video they put out, is in engine, not in game, and it's like, oh, this is going to be so great, and you get in and it's broken, it's flat, it doesn't, have any depth to it, or just, it's just not there. So I applaud you for doing that, because a lot of people try and show more than they actually have. So that's awesome.
For sure. So do you have that item sitting next to you that you teased us with last night that you could tease everybody else with?
Oh, come on.
Are we going to be mean to everyone?
We are.
I know,
we are.
We're really going to be this mean to
So how long have you actually had that in hand now?
What's really say you're gonna scream when you hear this. I had this for almost 2 full weeks before plugging it in because I was in the middle of something.
Right.
And
because when you try it, you're gonna be wanting to try it and use it. So it's like just keep it to the side.
Well, not just that, but I couldn't show this on camera when I first had it. The press had first dibs with reveals and things like that. And they were still finishing up some stuff with it, I think, on the sort of software side. And because I stream and I YouTube, I was like, I don't want to switch to it and not be able to stream on Twitch and things like this. So it was this big I don't know what to do. And then I finally plugged it in and I was like, all right.
Yeah. I know,
I'm so
nice.
jealous.
It looks so good.
It does. And if you guys haven't seen Anton's first kind of look at it, he did an excellent one on his channel where he kind of breaks things down. Yeah, it was a really good. I've actually watched it a couple times.
I know. Just subscribe to his channel. He has the facial interface, the magnetic. It's so good. Just please subscribe to his channel. He has the best video on the index. And if you want to know anything about it, he probably hits it inside.
And you said that headset is one of the most comfortable headsets you've worn. Is that right?
Yep.
No, the most comfortable.
Okay.
Clearly and it's a delight.
I like that, and just from when you showed us last night, and I didn't talk about it, but the headphones flip completely up and out of the way. So if you want to wear over the ear, it does not interfere with it as well, which is amazing. The Rift ones, the original CV ones, they just rotated. These completely out of the way. You could still get headphones over.
They rotate, and there's also a linear translation.
Oh, so good.
So they slide out like that, and they.
So good.
But.
And you talked about being.
Someone should let someone at HTC know, oh wow, guys, look at it, full 90 degrees.
Can you believe it?
That's awesome. So you actually talked about being concerned about the audio when they first told you about what they were doing.
Oh yeah, I remember. I was standing right there, being like, what do you mean, sort of thing, because I had experienced other, sort of versions of that, and I had always been. I had even been sort of displeased with the CV1's audio solution in terms of its low-end reproduction. That was a comfortable set of headphones. Mids and highs were clear and crisp, but it didn't have punch on it. And I've always VR'd with these. These have been my go-to for the past 3 years. They're like an NVX XPT 100s. It's like a Brainwaves clone. They've got a really big sound stage. They don't touch your ears, so they don't get bothersome to wear. So this has always been my, comfy but nice boomy low-end solution
make
for
a huge
audio.
difference, especially with your game with the gunshots.
Gunshots, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
World of
yeah,
difference.
so I first day spent in that, I was like, well, no, I'm not taking the headphones off these. These are great.
That's crazy too. And to say that that's beating those headphones, those headphones are built just to be headphones. They have to be great. So now to have this headset with that same caliber is just awesome.
And as I tell people over and over again, there's this like the speakers, because they're speakers, they're not headphones. Sure. On the Index headset, mess with you. It's the especially, like, I still have not gotten used to this much time the fact that there's nothing touching my ears and that the sound just seems to appear with them. Yeah, there's still something. It's like the equivalent of a pleasant optical illusion, but.
I wanted to ask you last night, but I was kind of trying to save it. Is how is the spatial audio with it? Does it seem? I mean, no different.
I think it has amplified perception of stereo separation. It was one of the most immediate things that I felt playing Take It, because in Take and Hold in H3, you are, especially if you have radar disabled in it, you are listening for the sound of patrols. You're hearing this tut 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 sound as they slap the ground, and figuring out where they are is really critical to survive. Like, do I take this corner or not? And it immediately felt like I could perceive them in space more with that. So I said this in my Index review. I think these headphones do favors to a well-mixed game that has the correct things spatialized and the correct things not. And I think they do no favors at all to a flatly or poorly mixed game. I think that they just highlight how bad.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's good, because I think developers need to focus more on. Sean and I have talked about that multiple times. Audio is a huge thing. It's one of your senses. I mean, if you aren't heightening or using one of those senses, you're missing out the full capabilities of what VR is.
Yep.
And definitely adds to the immersion big time.
Oh, it's huge, yeah, big time. But
sure. So you also talked about the lens clarity, and there's been a lot of back and forth of what people think about all of that means and stuff. But you talked about in your review about how before you would always have to look everywhere with your head. You have to use your head to look everywhere, and in this headset, you're actually able to use your eyes,
which has been a problem for recording footage. Every single
I haven't thought about that.
Because what happens is I'll be showing something off, and I will be holding the object down here, talking about it, because I can see it just fine, and I'm glancing down with it with my eye, and I'm not aware of the fact that the recording frame ends here. So I've actually thought of adding a recording jig that only I can see, that's just outside of the bounds of the recording frame, to help remember, like, no, turn your head towards what you're showing people. The video I did last night, I didn't have it. I would have literally re-recorded my devlog had I had another hour. But I had already, I was a little tight on time, because there were a bunch of times I was talking about an object and it was like just barely on frame, like here. And it's because you have that things are in focus.
That's exciting.
Edge, and you instinctually react to it. So your ability, it's not even about like just continued look, it's the ability to just glance in a direction without having to do this. And as I think I said in that video, like, I had a whole bunch of persistent neck pain that I thought was like, I have the wrong pillow. Turns out it was I was using a Vive Pro. Sure. That was what my neck pain was, and it was from having to
constantly
bring my head like an owl.
Right. So talking about that a little bit, the Index is actually one of the heavier headsets, but from what I hear, it's balanced very well. Yeah, that's what I hear.
It's weird.
It looks like their lower strap on the back really comes down and snugs tight to transfer that weight. I don't know. I don't have to, but yeah, it does.
Yeah, I was concerned when I first heard that, but hearing you say that it's so comfortable and stuff, that's very comforting to hear, because I plan on spending a lot of time with that on my head. So.
And seriously, like, I hadn't realized until I switched to it how much of a physical drag being in an HMD had become to me working, because I probably spent in that first 2 weeks of having this as much time in VR as I had spent in the prior 3 to 4 months. So it has raised the amount of contact hours and my desire to be in it.
Wow.
again.
That's awesome.
Do you do any designing inside of VR? Have you done any of that, or not really? You just
No, I mean I just test. I don't think that the types of tools that I use are not there, and because I'm a workflow nut in a really big way, and the efficiency of things, like I'm still not, as much as I'm into VR, I'm a super skeptic when it comes to adoption of technologies in tool chains. And so for me, lots of people always want to talk about, like, I'll design things with my hands in space with these sensors. And I'll be like, and I will be here moving my mouse 1.5 millimeters to the side with a tiny gesture 1,500 times in a day, because economy of motion is important.
Sure, it's like assembly lines going back to being hand built. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
just
like,
doesn't make sense. Yeah.
So
I get that. I know.
Yeah, so if you experienced the 144 hertz yet, I know in your review you said you usually use it in the 90 if you went to the 120, but you hadn't done the 144 yet. I was curious if that has changed.
I still haven't. I'm the worst in that regard. I'm not a gearhead in a traditional way. For me, my first concern is just about, like, is the game running in the way that almost everyone's going to be playing it. And that's how I stack up and prioritize those things, knowing full well that, like, the gearheads will try, like, someone's gonna on day one boot up the game and try it, and they're gonna give me a bunch of external observations, which will likely be things that I wouldn't even notice, sort of thing. And I want to start from that. I want to start from the external perspective and work back inward.
So what type of PC do you test or do all your, like, development on, or run your final builds on? Like, what size PC? I was curious.
So I have a pretty powerful work machine, but it still only has a 1080 Ti in it. But I'm driving a very high resolution monitor. And what's funny is, because when you're running something in the Unity editor, uncompiled, it runs, in VR at least, at a tremendous performance penalty. And so, in general, if things start skipping for me in Unity on this rig, that tells me that I have a performance hiccup I need to look at that's going to affect people running at the min spec.
1060 or something, exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I always do, is when I switch hardware, I triangulate from where I am to where the min spec is in the development environment that I spend like 95% of my VR time in, and then use that as my sort of like red flag for something being wrong.
It's a good way of doing it. That's pretty cool. Yeah, because some people aren't running, and you could run stuff on a super high, spec rig, but then who can really, do that? I mean, as a whole. So, yeah.
So,
totally.
So, Fantasy Film Production asks, from a live view, what do you think of the screen of the Index?
From a live view?
I think he just means like being live. I think he means being live on the show, like a live question, like not thought about or something. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Gotcha. Well, I know a lot. I've seen a bunch of discussion on the Valve Index subreddit about things like black levels, and as I mentioned, the black level is not as dark as other screens are. And on day one, that was something that I was like, that's not as black, especially for someone like me who's like into classic film, and I'm a monitor junkie big time. And after the first couple, I don't think it's reoccurred to me. It's something that you just adjust to the contrast range of, which is the experience of using monitors actually. So it's still one of those, like, small negative compared to so many positives in terms of visual clarity, ability to glance around, textual quality, that it's, if that's the trade-off they had to make, that was the correct trade-off.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of HMDs going to the LCD, and I think it is because of the low persistence they're able to get out of them and stuff like that. So I think that is like one of the only real trade-offs that we really know of going to the LCD is the black levels. And like you said, you adjust to it, and you don't really notice it other than the first time. So I don't think it's going to be a huge issue.
There's not a lot of experiences in games and stuff like that are just running solid black, unless it's like a space, game. That's really about the only thing, or a dark horror game type thing.
And even then, like, I've played Meat Grinder in it, and once again, like, it's for the first minute or two that you're in the scene, you're aware of the fact that you are looking at dark super dark gray instead of black, and then you're just like your eyes adjust to that being the luminance range you're perceiving, and you continue on. So
I do a lot of photography and stuff, and between Canon and Sony, just your colors are totally different shooting a raw picture. So no different going between LCD companies. They're all going to produce and reproduce different colors and blacks. Just how
and I feel bad because I, as a developer, was not aware early on just how much like panel brightness varied.
Sure.
And was not aware that actually of all of the HMDs, the absolute brightest was a Vive Pre, which is what I was using. If the panel was even bright, like they toned it down a bit for the final Vive release.
Sure.
So I was authoring scenes that were too dark for rig users, and I was not aware of it and felt a little bad.
Yeah, it is tough. We do a lot of like work with our images and stuff, and I have to make sure my brightness is set the exact same as it is if I push something to look at on my phone for mobile. If I look at it on a monitor, I have to compare those. I don't run any color monitors. I don't know. Do you run any of those? The ones that go on
once again, like I was a monitor junkie, so I used to be one of those guys that like borrowed the calibration puck from someone and was on like the TFT forums getting perfect color calibration, and then I just had this moment one day where I'm like, literally no one is seeing the things that I'm making in this way. I have this exactly backwards. I should be proofing my work on garbage. I should find a 6-year-old kind of on the way out, fell down the stairs TN panel and make sure my image I'm still proud of the way that image looks on that panel, because that's the way a lot of people are going to see it. And so since then I've taken much more of and that extends to a lot of my development philosophy, which is like, I've got like a bunch of great gun stocks over here. Like I've got a mag tube, which is, as far as gun stocks go, is so great. But I don't use it a ton because I don't want to acclimate to using it and warp my experience of my own game away from what the average user is doing. So it's really important for me to stay close to that.
I do the same thing with going in to try and show games for the first time, review them. I go in natively with no gun stock because that's not fair. You can't judge something on the way it's not meant to be played. So But I do. Same thing.
I love a good gun stock though. But we are big fans of the shooter games and the first-person shooter games and the multiplayer stuff. Do you think that using the index with that kind of clarity and stuff compared to somebody on the first-gen headsets, are they going to have an advantage? Like being in that headset and seeing through it, is that definitely? Because I mean, I imagine you can perceive things farther away, and
you have better functional peripheral vision,
right? Yeah.
To a
glance while you're looking down a sight.
Yeah, to a huge degree, and it's like even something as simple as like comfort, like that's an advantage too. In terms of like just your endurance, it feels like the device is just getting in your way less, but absolutely clarity, especially if you fire enough irons. Like, scopes sort of are a great equalizer to a certain degree, especially because those tend to be like a fixed render buffer. In the like, who cares what your HMD is? That's still a 1024 by 1024 texture being blitted to that surface. But if you're firing off irons, that's a big difference.
Yeah, they're almost unusable in some games, actually.
Yeah, they really are in some games, and some HMDs in some games.
You know, when I was up at Valve over a year ago, just post last year's GDC, and I got to, in that trip, try very early index. Like, someone held it to my face. It had no it just had exposed circuit board kind of thing, and we were able to like boot up H3 for the first time. It was a little broken because they had not figured out some of the like graphics API transposition to handle the canted displays. But I pulled open the indoor range, and the first that I have one firearm that I always pull out to test a panel. That's the comparison one, which is the Seiko 85. It's a rifle by Tim from Chamfer Zone, who does some really great tutorials for 3D modeling of firearms. And because those weapons were made for like a pancake game, the sights are very thin. They're just accurate to the gun. and on a first gen VR HMD, they're just below like actually usable. It's more like you're just firing sort of on faith. They're if you super sample to 2x, they're almost thick enough. And so it was the first thing I did. I pulled it up in the indoor range, shut one eye, bam, and they were clear. And I was like, oh, I'm excited now.
Really? Even that early.
So there's a tweak from after that trip that was just me being like, it was because of that moment.
Kid in a candy store, but you can't touch the candy. Like,
it was that sort of like, oh wow, cool. All the iron sights in my game are now usable.
That is awesome. So talking about going to Valve, Paradise Decay asked, when did you talk to Valve about doing the Team Fortress 2 stuff in your game?
Well, that was in the same trip, and I basically had been having a conversation during our lunch break about the design challenges of firearms in VR, both the way that like you suddenly have this literacy that you need to have that you did not need to have before, and that it's a conflicting literacy with a bunch of like the things we have accidentally trained gamers to know about guns, like the relative utility of a laser sight affixed to a gun versus a like a holographic reflex sight. In a video game, laser sight better. In real life, a reflex sight is better because it turns a 3-dimensional alignment into a 2-dimensional alignment at a fixed range. But if you've never utilized those, you don't know that, and you might still be sort of sequencing those upgrades in a game the way that other games have. So there's all these like, competing things. And it was during that conversation that I was just musing on like, I wonder how hard it would be to start with a group of cartoon guns like you have in TF2 and make them work realistically, and how would that feel, and what weird problems would you run into over the course of it. That would be really fun to do. And that's the way that conversation had largely ended. And I probably said something along the lines of like, I'd really love to be able to do that, but I didn't expect anything to come of it. And then I just got an email like a week later, basically, sort of referencing the conversation. They were like, we think this would be a great idea too. Gave me a set of constraints that I would have to agree to and operate under. That was largely just sort of like, you can't charge for the update. You have to tell people that the assets started as Valve assets, and you can't use any of the community stuff because we can't grant you those rights. And I was like, that all sounds fine to me. So,
yeah, you wouldn't want. Yeah, it's easy anyways. Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Jeez, man. Yeah, Valve. I like what Valve does. I feel they're very open to doing different. There's no constraint. There's no parent figure looking over telling them what they can and can't do. I feel like they're open to any options, as in leaving the port, on the front. I mean, they don't need to do that. You know what I mean? And maybe more about some of that stuff than we do, as prosumers, I guess. We don't know what they hope to or have. They'd have to have some idea of what they're doing with that, or what somebody could.
He's probably not allowed to tell us.
I don't know. It's.
And I'm not asking that,
I have now officially had. I would frame it this way: I've had enough interaction with them to now know that there are things that appear to be inscrutable that end up having a logic to them.
Sure.
They're just not. They're not terribly intuitive even afterwards. They're like, okay, that's super interesting, and it's driven by the interests of the folks there and the unique infrastructure and culture they have to pursue elements of technical fascination, most of which are tied to the generation of new markets. And so they definitely have. They're in their own bubble, and sometimes you can run into the friction of that, as we have seen culturally over the past year or two, but it's usually with intention.
Sure it is, absolutely. I mean, they're not going to do it and put the money and invest and put it into a headset and run the price up if they don't feel that there's somewhere it's going to go. But they have. I like Valve that they have humor, and they like to put humor in games, and I feel that's why you guys are a really good fit with Valve as well, because you guys have that same idea concept as a company So they're not afraid to, make fun of themselves or have fun inside of a game, or, drop stuff just to prove a point in front of, another company, stuff like that.
They've definitely done that.
Yeah. I mean, as a company, a lot of companies try and play it safe and not do stuff like that. But I love what they're doing. I really do.
Yeah,
It's
I cannot wait. I'm going to be watching my email like a hawk this whole week, because I want that email that says your index is shipped, and I'm just waiting for that.
I have mine on order, but I was at work when it dropped, and I couldn't actually grab the first order, and so I did get the bundle that was without the base stations. So I still have to come up with base stations now, and I have not done that yet. So
do you not have Gen 1s?
I don't. I do not have a Vive. So I don't even have Gen 1s to roll off of. So I still need to round some of those up, but that's my next project, is to make sure I have those, or else I'll have the headset and can't use it. So
I decided, by the way, to totally spoil myself, and I picked up 4 of them.
Did you?
Nice.
I found out you can run 4, and I was like, I gotta know. I need to know if it makes a difference.
Yep.
I'm gonna run sort of a triad of them up at sort of a high position, and then a 4th one canted just a bit lower to catch some of those weirder occluded.
I did all the same with the CV1. Like. The same thing is run different angles and heights and stuff. It really made a big difference. Now, I'm a huge fan of the outside tracking. I love it. Everyone wants to get away from it, and I understand it, like going in the way of a Quest. But for my go-to high-end VR that I'm always playing in the same place, I don't know why people just want all this inside-out tracking, because it's not as good, and it's never gonna be.
I think, and this is one of the places that irritates the hell out of me from the perspective of a lot of the VR press, because I think there is a huge there's a misrepresentation, and there's a difference in sort of cultural position between where they are oftentimes talking from, and bluntly put, still the average PC user. Like, the average PC user has to muck with lots of things. And on the scale of crap a PC user has to deal with, setting up a set of lighthouses might be in the middle in terms of pain in the ass, especially if you're willing to, look stuff up for an hour and be like, what's the best way to install these so that I don't have to touch them for 2 to 3 years? Sure. And as a developer, it is repeatedly frustrating for me being all the way out on the axis on the simulation end, where precision, temporal and spatial precision at the same time really, really matter, that it's waved away so frequently, the differences between inside out and outside. I mean, technically, to be pedantic, this is technically inside out in that light is being detected by sensors on the headset.
True.
But that's why I tend to be specific and be like camera-based, like inside out, to refer to things like the SWMR and the Quest. But I can tell you right now, as someone who makes like a game where you might want to shoot something 500 meters away, or you might want to throw something very, very precisely, if there is a camera-based inside-out tracking system that can even come close to the spatial and temporal, especially for instantaneous velocity changes, that Lighthouse can, I have never encountered it.
Sure.
And it's still, there's such a wide gulf, even before we talk about controller occlusion issues, and it has been demoralizing for me as a developer to have a larger and larger percentage of my user base have substandard experience that I'm desperately attempting to engineer and compensate for, feeling like a technology stack is moving backwards from when I started 3.5 years ago, largely under this sort of perception of like, if we eliminate this point of friction of setup, we will somehow grow the audience of PC VR. And I don't think that's the case. Like, price matters, but like having an extra setup, like, when was the last time you bought a game console? You don't get to play it that day because of how many updates it has to download before you play it. Like, we are, like, even perfectly like the consumer products that we theoretically look up to have just as much setup involved. I don't think that actually stops people from getting into VR. So right now, it just feels like a trade-off that's making games worse.
Sure, and like myself buying in, I buy into technology, newer technology, let's call it gadgets, on the prosumer market, and I have never bought one piece of tech that I didn't assume I had to put all this setup into, figure out how it works, because every designer and company works way different. So between updates and for cameras with angles and everything, it just you plan on having that setup. So I don't know why anybody buying into this market wouldn't think that, or would go in thinking I should have to just put it on and it works. I understand it's nice, but I feel the trade-offs, at least on the higher end, aren't worth it.
I think it totally makes sense for the Quest.
Right.
Absolutely.
That was absolutely, and I can even understand the business logics of say Facebook being like, we have these two products, we should invest in one code base of a tracking system. It's just very unfortunate to a certain genre of games,
especially the people that like the gun games, because I have ran into tracking issues. I did get a Rift S to try out and stuff, and I haven't been it's especially once the Index comes, it is not going to be any kind of a go-to headset to play any kind of a shooter game, especially any kind of competitive shooter game, because those things matter in those kind of games. You don't want to, even just for an instant, have your gun sway to the left or right when it's not supposed to. You know what I mean? Like, the precision does matter a lot in certain kind of games.
Yeah, I literally have a brand new post that came in while I was asleep from a new user being like, when I use a weapon that needs two hands like rifles, the gun starts getting stuck in the air or floating away. This happens when I am aiming. Does anyone know why?
Sadly, he's asking.
You have new users who are not even aware.
Right.
I know.
This is a limitation of the tracking system, and there are very limited postures of where, like, that you have to hold the firing hand here and not here, and that you have to tilt this controller down, or like this, so that this one's tracking ring doesn't occlude that one, sort of thing. And it's and then they assume the game is broken and not they bought.
And sadly, Oculus is turning people away because they don't approve of certain things, because they don't want it to be seen that way, but yet it's their hardware that's causing issues that they don't want people to see. So it's kind of funny, it's a little ironic. But
it's kind of a crazy VR world we're in right now. There's just so much crazy stuff going on.
It's a very them thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how it goes. But yeah, I just, sadly, like for me, it's always going to be buying the higher end stuff like Index, and people are pushing the limits and doing it the right way. That's where I want to be, but I understand some people, don't afford that price range for a headset.
My problem is I want to try everything. I literally want to try all of them, because they all offer something a little bit different than the other one, and I just want to be able to see it all with my own eyes. I don't know why.
So, Anton, have you tried have like a Pimax? Have you tried any of that yet?
No, I haven't had any after I had sort of a little tiff with them right at the sort of initiation of their campaign, and then got feedback from some of my user community about what has been prioritized and what hasn't been with their headset. I have sort of been in the whatever. I have other things to do with my time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I told you that last night. I'm really into build quality. So like with the Index, I feel like they really put it into build quality. Like maybe Oculus is going maybe a little cheaper with their new stuff. And I get it, price point and stuff. But, with the Index, I feel like you're really getting what you pay for. So
yeah,
it's awesome.
Looking forward to it.
So anything, let's see, are you guys working on anything new? Do you guys have anything new in the back burner that you guys are working on?
Well, as a group, we have, like, one of the things that's very unique about our structure is that each of us tend to have a project that we are sort of wholly project or even just a thing that we are learning at a given time that we're super invested in, and then the other members chip in on that thing as needed. So Lucas is working on a pancake game at the moment that's more retro, because that's really his jam, but also meat themed, so very congruent. And Luke is, as I mentioned, Adam had literally just finished his PhD and has also been doing a lot of university instruction and is in a moment of transition towards other projects. And then Luke has been working on a on another company, sort of joint venture that's about using VR in sort of emergency responder training spaces. That's very much informed by all of the sort of design work and thinking that we've made about compelling virtual objects and about taking this sort of realistic approach to things. So we're pretty broad in our interests. And
we talked about on our show, I don't know, it's been, I don't know, maybe a month ago now, but like first responder stuff and how really cool that would be to implement. I was dreaming this up because we saw a video of the NYPD doing drills with headsets and a team of 4 guys. And I said, how amazing would that be if there was some giant event, whether it be at a stadium, the White House, and these people could go in and train for an emergency situation before they've even ever been there and know what they do, where the exit points are, where the angles on stuff. I mean, the possibilities with that kind of stuff, with fire and police, is just unbelievable. It really is.
For sure.
It's really fun.
So I know you don't get a lot of time probably to play anything. Do you have any go-to VR games that you like to play outside of H3VR?
Sure.
I mean, I know your time is
not as a go-to. I mean, for me, the things that tend to be super compelling to me, like I still think my favorite VR game that I've ever played was virtual reality.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It made me laugh the most. Yeah. It was the most sort of like this is going to sound like a roundabout tangent, but you might have noticed when either of you said the word immersion, I sort of twitched a little bit.
Sure.
I don't like that term. I don't like VR's set of sort of metaphysical terms related to things that much, because for me this is not a medium that is about attempting to
be something,
create reality, like substitute for reality. It's a perpetually absurd proposition. You are always wearing this weird thing on your face. You are holding controllers, and I think that instead of fighting that's something that it should be brought like more into the experience. Don't highlight the absurdity of it and integrate it into what is going on. And that's a game that does that. Like, that's a game about pulling off and taking off HMDs repeatedly.
Sure.
And it's one of the reasons even in H3, like, I have controllers, not hands, because you're holding controllers, and that's the relevant part to me. So, but yeah, so for me, the things that I want to play in VR are absurd things.
Sure, I totally get that. What was the accounting? Which I think was Valve funded, or Valve, was it Valve? It could have been Valve.
No, I don't think.
Oh,
so.
that was a 2-guy. That's right. That was a 2-guy crew or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, accounting is Roiland, which I think Roiland works perhaps a little bit better with like an editor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But still funny. But yeah, I like the weird experiments. I look for the jank. I look for the I'm a very anti-polish kind of person in general. I look at these really, really high fidelity, polished to smoothness things, and all I can think about is how much time was not spent figuring out what's actually new and interesting to do with objects and places and contexts and movements in this medium, and was instead just spent making sure the thing looks good in a screenshot.
Sure.
So I absolutely go for the sort of grungy, weird, barely working stuff, and I go and I buy a copy of all of it.
Sure.
Just to see because it could be a horrible thing that even makes me a little sick and doesn't hit frame right, but they did one interesting thing in it, and that's what made the entire experience worth it.
Yeah, and it implants that thought into your head as well, because now you may be able to use that mindset or strategy in something that you do too, and broaden your horizon on it.
Yeah, people need to push the envelope in VR. I think it's cool when you do something different.
It's such a new medium. It's one of the things that really irks me about, say, the curation philosophy for the Quest. Right. And I understand a component of them being this is something aimed at a more general audience. We want to make sure that everyone who's getting anything on this device has a certain type of consistent experience. But I can't help but feel that what they're doing is 5 years premature relative to, like, we're still at games before, like, we're still at first-person shooters before WASD existed level in terms of, like, the design axis of figuring things out. And so to force an entire development community on the only device in this form factor to privilege meticulous polish and everything being safe at the moment where we're still trying to answer the question, why put this device on at all, seems totally contradictory to me, especially when you look at the past decade of games history to find that like literally the most expensive game ever sold, Minecraft. Does anyone remember what that looked and played like in depth?
Right. Oh yeah.
Because I played the very first version of it that you could buy, and
so did I.
it was jank. It ran at like 5 frames per second, but it provided an experience that nothing else had before.
Yeah.
Now, like, what do you mean I can just keep walking? Sort of thing. And I see what they're doing as a curation model as pretty much ensuring that they will not find the breakout thing that is medium defining. And I find that's such a and to do that in this, like, but we might scare someone off because something isn't so polished, is like the most corporate, cowardly, short-sighted way to go about platform curation, as far as
and you got to think, people that are buying VR headsets it's not going to scare them away. They're venturing into something new as it is. So why would they not venture then inside of that to buy something?
So one of the first things when we first started playing, we played Minecraft in VR, and we put on the free locomotion, and Tyler actually, at first, didn't feel very well because of that free locomotion. It was the first time we ever did it. But this is 3 years later, and we never walked away from VR because of that. You know what I mean? Right. Like, that just pushed us even farther into it. Like, I mean, it is, some people have that experience, but you know, it's not. I don't think it's something.
I knew Minecraft for so long. I'm like, I want to now be inside of that for once. And I went in, and I don't know why. What it was I don't know if the refresh rate at the time or something made me, but spinning around made me sick. And I'm like, this is crazy because VR doesn't make me sick.
It's just something we all get used to, though. Like, I mean, I know from what I've read and stuff that even, you know, 3D games on a monitor, like 3D modeled games on a monitor, at first would make people sick back in the day. I mean,
I still have friends who still can't handle, unless they do something like play it on a big TV and make sure that they're far back from it, can't even play first-person games, period. We all have our different motion thresholds. Absolutely. I can't VR twin stick style for more than about 15 or 20 minutes in most cases. I use exclusively arm swinger in H3 because you get that conflicting motion that interferes with that, like, you know, sort of vection-based nausea. So people definitely have upper bars. I definitely think it's still important to accommodate people who do have motion sensitivity.
Right. Yeah,
it's one of the reasons H3 has like 7 locomotion modes.
And that's what everybody needs to do, I think. Give people options. Give people the options. Because
exactly. Like, even if the Quest had something like that was something like you know, the workshop or you know, the prototype zone or what have, something that clearly demarcated.
Right.
This is a place for experimentation. This is a place for unfinished things. This is a place for wild artists, but you could still sell things in it, and you could still, like, choose to opt into that. That would be a way of, as a platform holder, having a wide responsibility to the medium from a creative standpoint. And it's clear that they don't fucking care.
And I mean, even just, you don't have to put it on the main page either. You know, you don't have to blast it out there if it's not something that you want everybody to experience, you know?
I think we had this conversation. It might have been before you were on, Anton, but I think I said literally the same thing, or maybe it was while you were on. But like, Xbox has a beta branch, and you have to literally sign up for it. You get pushed the stuff before anybody else, so other people don't see those things. They're not even available for them to look at. You know what I mean? So then the people who want to be experimental and try these new things and different, it's there. But if not, you're not even aware. So I know. I don't know why they do it.
Well, it's their controlling, and they clearly have a set of design ideologies from top to bottom, and that they're going to force everyone to adhere to. And so for me as an artist, that's just utterly intolerable. And it's why, even though I will fight for what other developers need on that platform, I don't intend to use the platform myself.
Sure, right. And it doesn't fit. Your style of developing and game, it's just not a fit. And that's to each his own. Some developers that works for, and that's what they want.
But the most positive reviews on Steam. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Like, so
that's my point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So just because you're pushing boundaries doesn't mean that it's not viable for people to try for the first time.
And that people don't love it. People.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
I know.
So.
With high risk, there's high reward.
Well, it's not just that, but it's once again one of the reasons that I find the way that they approach things to be myopic is that if there's one thing that making H3 has taught me, it's that there is an audience of people that games media and the way we think about games addresses and is aware of. And then there's all of these other large pockets of people who consume gaming media that no one covers, next to no one seems aware of whatsoever, and are huge.
Yep.
These various niches, like all the people who play Train Simulator, of the, most people aren't aware just how big the straight simulator genre is in Germany.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive.
Yep.
The number of I just saw an article going around wow, look at that, the new after this new update, American Trucking Simulator is outselling Cyberpunk pre-orders on Steam. That's weird. That didn't surprise me at all.
No, I've been telling Sean about that game forever. Dude, VR in this would be very fun.
Right, for sure.
I get it. But
there are huge audiences that aren't parsable to IGN and PC Gamer, and so they don't exist, sort of thing. They aren't someone that can be direct sold to with the exact same homogenized marketing logic as everyone else can, and so they are just ignored instead. But the fact of the matter is, they're one of the important backbones of just gaming on the PC, period. There's several of the backbones for it, and for me, as far as I see it, to be making a strategy for a new medium like VR that is oblivious to that fact, seemingly, and isn't trying to engage, is trying to force everything through one thinking process, is preposterous.
It is. I mean, my thing is, if you go on, just as an example, on YouTube and look at the amount of views that some things have. So if you look at flight sims, for example, there's guys, there are hundreds of thousands of views on these flight sim videos. So that has to tell you, look how large that market is. And with flight sim, racing sim, their number one upgrade right now for their setup is a VR headset, period. That's ultimately what those guys want right now. So
especially because we're just getting to the point where you can actually read the damn dials in your car.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And those headsets now are out there, and that's what they're buying. So I know it's just too bad, but they want to push this lower end consumer market because they feel like it's their numbers, and that's okay because it is there.
It isn't just numbers. It's that I think one of the things that everything that Facebook does needs to be viewed through the lens of is that they got beaten hard in the entire generation of mobile. They had to be a passenger on everyone else's train for that entire generation of technology. And as we move towards sort of spatialized operating systems, sort of what AR will become, or AR, VR, however it's sort of conceptualized, they want to make sure that they're positioned to fight full force against Google, Apple, and Microsoft. And so everything that we are experiencing with their product bases is a step along a path that's about enculturating people to what their vision of spatial computing is. And as far as I'm concerned, the VR games component of that is largely incidental. It's a holding pattern that buys them time and market share to be able to generate a patent portfolio that will allow them to fight this war for the next computing paradigm over the next 10 years. Which is just kind of sobering and kind of depressing.
Sure it is. And there's also motive, behind that as well, with the parent company and what they're trying to get their hands on, and keep a tab on it. So it's hard. It is.
Yeah, and they've got a board to continue to have to
Oh,
justify this stuff to every fiscal quarter. So.
Yep. Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, that's ultimately what that to refer to. Have you heard much, or what are your thoughts on this whole, cloud streaming with VR? What's your opinion on that? Because I just feel like the latency and everything is just a wash because nothing's fast enough. So, and they keep pushing this, and Nvidia even is pushing it,
Well, of course, any time you see a technology being pushed, and once again, I have a very cynical view of pretty much all of this stuff. I always look at it from the position of, in what way is this technology being conceptualized to entrench certain types of existing power and to shift a balance of power in some form towards the producer of the technology or their partners within an ecosystem. So for me, I look at this entire streaming push across gaming as being sort of like a two-faceted thing. For one, it's a type of anti-piracy measure, if you think about it. It's a way of ensuring that more terms of the entire sort of gaming experience are controllable from the top down, at the platform holders dictate. Obviously, there are development benefits to it, right? It factors out all sorts of hardware challenges,
right,
especially for a PC user. It no longer matters what GPU someone has. They're like, oh, wow, their drivers are a year and a half out of date. So it's not to say that it isn't actually presenting certain sorts of technological and design and development benefits. The problem, as far as I see it, is this way in which it is continuing this trend of delocalizing all of your computation. It's about making it so that instead of doing your computing locally, you are doing your computing off-site in a black box. And I have a problem with that just from a philosophical and political standpoint, that's about doing computation on a fundamentally unauditable system. Right. And given the amount of authoritarian governments that exist on our planet, the notion that, I write a text file that's seditious at night on my computer, and then I wake up the next morning and it's just not on my computer anymore, and I have no way to tell who deleted it, why did it delete, did I even write it in the first place? The ability for a platform holder to mess with you in that way, and to have that sort of I don't want an AI assistant. I will not enter someone's home if they have an Alexa on. I don't want a pervasive microphone turned on. And so for me, this entire notion that I'm going to be doing more and more of my interfacing with a computer on someone's cloud instead of in my home on my terms, audible to me, is unacceptable.
It is. It's hard.
And so I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I know.
The future can be kind of scary sometimes.
So, and I'll fight it at every turn.
Right, and all the big, obviously all the large companies, whether that be, whether it be a government company or Facebook, they all want that data because it all has monetary value to them, and that's really the only reason for it. And I agree, it is. The more they push towards this, the more that they push towards it, the more we're giving it up, and everyone's worried about giving up, gun rights, but really they should be worried about this stuff because you won't have rights because they'll have it all. So.
And it just so happens that most of the companies that are doing this already wield a power that is truly multinational in its scope. Absolutely. They have the ability to sort of if one of the key elements of the nature of our era is that we once again have entities that are more powerful than nation states, and no one seems to be doing something about that. And that we talk about, we will jingoistically talk about how important democracy is, and bringing democracy to other parts of the world, while we have completely subverted our entire democratic process by allowing large tech companies to function in a completely authoritarian fashion, and control our mediums of communicating with each other, and have somehow insulated themselves from any antitrust concerns.
I think this country needs to revert back to when there were giant monopolies, 70 years ago, and do what they had to do, but now they're
trust bust.
Exactly. And I just feel like now that these hands are so deep in with all these, with government and larger companies and other countries, that I don't even know if that's possible now. I don't.
Of course, they had a century to learn from the last time around.
Yep.
I know. And
it's
I
just
don't.
happening in a different realm right now.
I don't think we'll ever get another Roosevelt. So.
No, I don't. Sadly.
But
sure.
I think it's and to momentarily continue the grim thing. I get asked very frequently, what do you think the biggest barrier to mass adoption of virtual reality is? It's a real common question that gets shot around.
Everyone asks us all the time too.
And we talk about it as a group a lot. And I think there's actually one answer that makes sense, and the rest of them are silly, which is climate change. Like, climate change is the single, like us surviving long enough for that to happen, period, us retaining global stability of a unified economic system that allows the distributed production of incredibly sophisticated devices full of rare earth metals, custom silicon, etc. Like, I bet you if this trade war wasn't happening right now, that's the first step to global destabilization, that device would be $100 cheaper.
Sure it would be.
Yep. So it's like that is and remains the greatest impediment to this stuff. And I think a lot of tech discussions like to pretend they're in this sort of like insulated bubble of concerns, and that the larger world isn't relevant to these things that we love and enjoy, when in fact, like, no, like if you care about VR, you should care about the environment, and you should care about politics, and you should care about having, a functioning polis and such, because without those things, your toy doesn't get made.
Right. Technology doesn't grow by everybody fighting each other. Technology as a whole, grows by everybody working together, as does, within a company or world scale. Doesn't matter. It's all the same. But yeah, I know it is. It's too bad, because there are places that have these technologies that hold on to certain things, and rightfully so. They may have come up with it. But for us to advance as a whole, it's not going to happen. It won't.
No.
I mean, not as quickly as it could, at least. Not saying it won't, but
Definitely.
yeah, that's hard. I know.
So somebody mentioned earlier that this is a great interview, and that because the chat hasn't been like going crazy because everybody's so intent on listening, which is really awesome. So yeah, so it's been really good. Actually, we really appreciate you coming on here. We really look forward to this, and it's really nice to get somebody else's perspective too. Somebody that's dives a little bit more deeper into everything, knows a lot more of the back end of all the stuff that we don't see as much, as consumers. So it's been definitely a pleasure to have you on, and maybe we'll have to do this again sometime in the future. So
happy to. I certainly live it.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
For sure.
My life is orbit at this stuff.
People get to see though on your channel all the stuff. Some of it you do have to go through, which is great, because if you wouldn't put that out there, people don't understand.
Yeah, it's nice that you share that with the community. That you're a part of the community, not just somebody that nobody ever interacts with or sees that's behind closed doors pounding away at work. You know what I mean? It's nice that you involve everybody in that. So that's really cool. So if anybody here hasn't been on your channel or subscribed to your channel and want to see that stuff, your channel name is just Anton Hand, right?
Yep, and the thing is, if you actually pull it up, you can see the entire development of this game happen. If you go all the way back to 2016, there's a first video that's like experiments with virtual objects, week 1. Yep. That video was filmed 3 days after I got my first Vive Pro. I basically got it. I just sat in Unity nonstop for 3 days. Awesome. And I had started with those group of objects because I have prior VR background to this generation. I not only was doing like DK1 and DK2 stuff, but I did like rear screen projection, cave VR stuff back between like 2004 and like 2009, and had made a very primitive rail shooter back then because that still had magnetic hand tracking for it. So I basically was like, I wanted to map how far things had come since then. And really, I was still a like work in a closet, quietly shy artist in a big way. And I put out that first video expecting like 50 people to watch it. And I got tens of thousands of views. And I was like, what's what's going on? But
people all see me like
yeah, but people seem to think this is neat, and people want to know more about this medium, and so I just made more videos. So in a bit, you know, the big lesson from that entire experience was, especially if you're doing something new, like put yourself out there with enthusiasm and patience and being willing to explain what you're doing, because it might catch, it might be really compelling to people, and then that might change your entire freaking life. So
that is awesome.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of how we started too. We were just two best friends. We talked VR for 3 years, and one day we were like, "Hey, we should record this. You know, why aren't we talk for 2 hours?"
We usually would get on and talk before we went into VR together on a Saturday morning, and we were just video chatting like this, and we talked for like an hour. I'm like, dude, we should just do like a show, because I mean, we love talking about it anyways. So get some other people involved, and it's a ton of fun.
Exactly.
So.
Yep, it's a good community that people like at its core can be.
Yeah, it's a great community.
It is, and I'm not saying there aren't people out there who like to, you know, banter and do certain things, but as a whole, it's really a lot of like-minded people that are looking for the same thing. So it's really nice.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I know.
So,
well, and thank you for your content for it too. It's awesome, man. I love watching your stuff too.
Yeah, definitely. So we should probably wrap this up. I think we've been going for almost 2.5 hours now from when we started. So it was definitely our longest show yet, but it was great, and we definitely had a lot of fun. We love doing this. Sometimes we're like, we could go all day, but probably nobody wants to listen to us all day long. So, but it's so much fun. So. So we definitely appreciate you having you on, and we will definitely keep in touch and try to get you on again in the future. And we'll let everybody know, try to keep them up to date too with updates that come out and all that stuff too. So trailers you guys push out and stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
Definitely. So all right, we will see you guys next time.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Later. Thanks a lot. See you guys later.